Search is over, now welcome to First Mint. Looking for NFT content, look no further cause this is it. From Top Shot to blockchain, they got the data chops, analysis, impact drops, the show's equator hot. LG and Phil D, the best amongst others. Best brothers that happen to ball since the Ball brothers. So settle in cause it's time for the best show. Ayo Quad, who we reppin'? First Mint. Let's go.
Whoa.
Wow. Hold on.
Wow.
I have to, first of all, I have two things to say right off the bat. A, we got to get Quad back on the show at some point because he's in the opening song and we haven't seen him on the show in like years at this point. And Quad always has spicy things to say. Two, Phil admitted to me seconds before we started that the outline I send him every week of what we're going to talk about on the podcast, he never, ever looks at it. And he goes into everything. And he goes into every single show completely cold with no idea the kind of shit I'm going to throw at him, which actually makes sense because we end up just talking about like your personal life for like an hour.
That is the only thing I thought of actually before recording this. I'm like, nothing really crazy happened to me in the last week. Like the last couple of times we recorded, a lot of crazy stuff happened, but there are things that I want to bring up. There are things I want the community to help me out with and discuss. So we'll have to get to that too, LG. But no, I do not read the outline. I might take a quick glance, but I don't want to think about things ahead of time. Just like I told you with our contest, I don't even want to look at the replies, even though I get tagged 100 times a day. I don't want to look at the replies because I want it to be natural when I select a winner. I don't want to be influenced by whoever said something because we know them or they're our friends or whatnot. I want it to be the best natural reaction, and I want my reactions to be the same, natural to everything. Right?
Who do you think? Who else in the sports world do you think does that? Like, I feel like Shaq never knows what they're going to talk about.
No, like Sir Charles and Shaq, I'm sure of it. Like, it doesn't mean you're not professional. It just means that, you know, if you know everything, I feel like some sports anchors, to be honest with you, like whether it be on ESPN, TSN, Fox, whatever, I feel like they work really hard just to keep up because it's not really natural to them to watch all these sports. I can tell when they're doing a sports report or when they're doing like Sports Center that they don't really watch that sport. And it's not the way they pronounce the names. It's just kind of like, I don't know, more subtle things where they don't have much more to say apart from reading what's on the teleprompter. Let's put it that way, right? So I'm pretty confident
I agree with you.
that I can jump into anything, whether I read about it or not. And I like to be surprised. I'm not going to lie.
No, but it's good. It's good. I think we want like your raw take, right? And I think that's what's a good balance between the two of us, right? Is that it's like I'm thinking about for days. I'm like, what am I going to say about Top Shot this week? It's going to piss people off, and I get tweets from trolls being like, saying they're bullshit. I think about that for days, whereas like you like clearly don't think about this until we start, which is perfect. No, but that's right. I think that gives the perfect balance because then I'm coming with this like super formed, been thinking about this opinion, chiseling at it, and you're coming in like it bounces right off of you, and we get your like. I find then your takes are like way more raw and honest, which I think is what a lot of people really appreciate. So
I like to be surprised too, because there are some things that you brought up, and I was just like, hold on, I did not hear about this. Like, what? Are you serious? As opposed to if I saw it in the outline, I'd have to go look it up, and then I might feel like I have to give any take on it, which I don't necessarily have a take, right? So, but I wanted to bring something up before I forget.
Perfect.
I wanted to ask you something because I did see our parents on Friday night. They love when we talk.
Oh,
okay. All right. Let's just put it that way. Okay. I actually got a secret, and Mom's going to kill me for telling you this, but she gave me telling
everybody, not just telling me, you're telling everybody.
She is furious still that the llama is no longer in the background of any stream I do.
You're in a different room now.
I'm in
I think you're in your own teenage bedroom. It honestly looks like you've gone to the past. And now you're actually wait, hold on. While we're talking teenage bedrooms, Phil, can I tell them about your teenage bedroom?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we've been, one thing I've been enjoying, and I talk about this often, I've been kind of experimenting with the First Mint Twitter to talk about, and then we're going to get to the thing about our parents, but I've been experimenting with First Mint Twitter with like honestly just like sports toys and video games from the 90s because I think people love that kind of nostalgia. And a while back I posted those like baseball pennies, which you currently have one behind you. I don't know what team is that. The Raptors.
That's the Raptors championship one. So yeah,
right. Okay, but back in the day, it was only baseball teams. Like very few other types of sports had that. And Phil had his like room covered with those. He also had like newspaper clippings of like hilarious like Maple Leafs moments, like when Felix Potvin and Hextall got in a fight and Potvin like beat the shit out of him and like goalie fight back in like 1993. Phil had all this stuff. But the main thing that Phil had, and this is towards his later teenage years when he was like 16, is one day he like came home from wherever he goes after school, closed the door to his room, and when it opened, right above his bed were 2 posters for Baywatch of what was it? Yasmin Bleeth and Pamela, right? Like there's one for each.
I was obsessed with her. Yeah, Yasmin Bleeth. I was
with Yasmin. Yeah, with Yasmin.
And I was obsessed with Pamela as well. But I was like, you know what? Like this is not like normal behavior in our household for me to do this. It is going to be weird with our parents for sure. But you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm old enough now. And I'm gonna put these chicks in bikinis up on my wall, and it wasn't on my wall. LG, you missed that part. It was like on the ceiling.
We had
kind
like
of slanted ceiling.
Yeah, we had kind of like a bit of a vaulted ceiling in our bedrooms, and the bedrooms were incredibly small. This was not a giant house. Like we were at a very small upstairs where the bedrooms were, and everybody had a small bedroom, including me and Phil. So Phil above his bed, his single bed, had this like vaulted ceiling made of like old wood slats, and then just put up just straight up Pamela Anderson and Yasmin Bleeth, like giant, posters you'd get at like the record shop, right? Because it's the only place you could buy posters back then. Like you wanted a poster of like your favorite movie poster or whatever, or like some kind of, pop star or whatever. You went to like HMV or I don't know what was it? What did they have in the States? Tower Records, some shit like that.
They don't
right?
know Sam
like,
the Record Man, but yeah.
No, this is a Toronto thing. But yeah, you'd go there, and that's where Phil clearly went after work with his allowance money, was down to HMV and bought 2 giant fucking Baywatch posters. Boom and boom. What did mom and dad say when they like walked by and they saw that?
I don't remember. I think our parents were more along. They were never the overreact type. They were more the type that would see something, discuss it amongst themselves, and kind of plan how they would, either say something or not something. Yeah, I don't think they ever said anything.
No.
I think maybe dad probably made some kind of comment. Hey, those are cool.
What would happen is when they, when they would talk about it for sure is like we'd have dinner, like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock as a family, which is nice. And then it'd be like homework time, or if you're done video games or watching sports or whatever. And then when it was like closer to bedtime for us, like 10, they would go downstairs and watch TV for an hour, right? Like they'd watch like, I don't know, Letterman or Seinfeld or whatever was on, something dad had taped. But then that's when they would talk about that kind of shit, I think, like end of the day. And then because I remember sometimes I'd come downstairs and they wouldn't be talking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like that's when you're like, that's when someone's been talking about you, is when you walk into the room and they stop talking. So that's for sure. There were many late night conversations between mom and dad about your Baywatch posters.
How did we get to that? I don't even know how we got to that. How did we get to
talk
about my room as a kid?
Because I was talking about the room that you're in, because you're saying that mom's upset that there's no llama poster behind you anymore. And I was saying that since you have a pennant, it looks like a teenage bedroom. And then I went into every episode we have to share new childhood details. Like that's basically like a whole map is being revealed. So anyways, you saw mom and dad on Friday.
She did not mention the pennant though. She mentioned the cross and that's it. No, okay. She only talked about the cross. Behind I was like, okay,
tiny cross.
So we saw them on Friday and had dinner and stuff like that. So we had Chinese food. Okay, obviously an old time classic with our parents. We've had Chinese food with them for years. We had our own classic spot that is now gone in Toronto. So it was more of a local place. Now, we ordered so much food, and Chinese food's always like this. When you order Chinese food, it looks like you haven't ordered enough. Okay. And you're like, wait, what is this? Like this won't feed 5 or 6 people.
No.
But when you get down to eating it, there's always leftovers, no matter what. Because people, I don't know. Yes, you just can't eat that much. So anyways. Yeah. So we got a ton. And I'm talking maybe the most I've ever ordered. There's the order price has never been that much for Chinese food. I know inflation is a thing, but like we ordered a lot. Okay. And so that meant that it came with like 14 or 15 fortune cookies. And I'm not the biggest fan of fortune cookies. Yeah. But the next day when I see them, there's this thing. It's almost like a pack opening. I have to open them just to see what the hell it says in there. Okay. So I opened the first one and it was written.
So wait, you open fortune cookies that aren't yours? Like you open yours and eat it, and
but
then
there's like 14 of them. We weren't 14 people.
So
we
you
were
just
like
open random fortune. Isn't that like really bad?
Well, this is where I'm getting here. This is what I need to know, and I don't know what's going on here, but this is where I need the community to help us out with this because I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But
okay,
we get these Chinese food with fortune cookies. These ones here, okay, the classic ones. Like if you can see, if you're watching the stream right now, these are the
prop today.
Yeah, these are the real ones. Like these are the ones that come all the time. So the first one had a fortune that said, like big things coming, or like you will get lucky soon, or some nonsense like that. The usual.
Generic, super generic.
Cool. Threw it out. I'm like, all right, I'm still hungry. I'm gonna open like 2 or 3 more of these. It's like eating cookies, right? So I open them, and the second one does not have a fortune in it. Like there's nothing inside, and like right away,
you've been cursed.
No, but I don't want to read about it if that's the case. So I didn't even look it up. Like, is that a thing?
Right. Yeah.
So what does that mean when you don't get a fortune inside the cookie?
Well,
does that mean something? Like,
I mean,
me,
I'm sure
when I think something's bad, I don't look it up. I don't look it up because I don't want to know. Like, if it says something's going to happen bad to you in the next few days, I don't even want to know.
Mine is usually like, I mean, technically it's just that there wasn't one in there and it's like a factory problem. But okay, no, it says here, after reading the fortune, you must not tell anyone your fortune, and then eat your fortune cookie and put paper on fire for it to come true.
What?
And then if there is no fortune in a fortune cookie, it is a sign that something good will happen to you because a fortune cookie fairy owes you 1 fortune.
Okay. Well, here's the deal. Okay. So I was not happy with this. I thought it was something terrible. Okay. So I ate the cookie and I kept going. I said, I can't end it like this. I've got to, and I never play those. I don't play the lotto much. I also never use those numbers for lotto. That's some BS. So, and when they tell you to make a wish before you blow out your cake or whatever, your candles, I don't think I ever made a wish after the first few didn't come true. So that was also false. But anyways, so I opened the next fortune cookie and it's also empty. I'm like, dude, what is going on here? Like, is this like, are they counterfeit fortune cookies? Like, did this place like just buy their own, throw them in random wrappers?
And then there's no actual.
So this was a few days ago. That was Friday. So now today I came home and I'm like, I need a quick snack. So I take like 2 or 3 of them. I ripped them open and none of them have any fortunes inside. So I just want to prove it to you. I'm going to open this right now and show you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah.
This is
hold it up. Hold it up. Now hold it up. But you can't open it out of camera.
These have to be counterfeit. Okay. I don't know if anyone can attest.
I like that a counterfeit cookie is one that has no message inside. I like that. That's the counterfeit part. That's the part that they skimmed on was the actual paper.
I'm going to make a mess here, but watch. Oh, there's nothing inside.
You gotta take that back, man.
Well, now
you gotta get your money back.
Just for context, I got one more here. Right?
What are these First Mint snacks, man? Let's get some First Mint fortune cookies going.
Here we go. Watch this. Ready?
Okay, here we go.
Absolutely nothing inside.
What a disgrace. It's
disgusting. Awful, man. So, but the first one had one. So the first one must have been the last of the real ones.
Wait, what did it? You don't remember what it said? It was some generic.
Something like you're gonna get very lucky or some nonsense like that. Nothing happened on the weekend in terms of lucky stuff like that. But
no lucky April Fools.
Oh, but that's the other thing though, is that was like the day before April Fools. And but anyways, the bottom line is in my entire life of eating Chinese food, this has never happened. I've never had empty, let alone one. I've never had like a whole row of empty ones. And they gave us like 14 or 15. So I decided to open all of them. They're all empty except the first one. So like, do you think they've banned them? Maybe because like they were saying things that you're not supposed to say in today's world.
I don't know. But Phil, what's the part about mom and dad?
Oh, they were just there. I don't think.
Oh, that's just. I thought there was like no. Or something.
The reason Chinese food was ordered is because they were there. But now my issue is the last 4 days of eating these things, they're all empty, and I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I would ever eat these because they're empty. You know, that's. I think it's counterfeit. I really do.
No, I think when there's an issue when it's empty, you realize how terrible those cookies actually are. Like honestly, that it's like think about how long it's been in that wrapper. You know what I mean? Like that is literally just sugar with preservatives on it. Like there's like literally it's not made of anything else.
You're right.
It's disgusting. But it's fun when there's a little message inside. It's hilarious and it's fun and it gives you like some lottery ticket numbers and all that kind of shit and gives you some kind of dark message like or whatever it is. No. But when it's just the cookie, it's like even right, you're going through this right now. It's like why would you eat this? What is the point of eating this, man? That makes no sense. So
now that you said preservatives, I'm like, these things are out of here. Just like when I like Prime, I like to drink Prime until I read about it. I'm like, and they're like, it is loaded with so many preservatives that your kids should probably never drink this. I'm like, what? All right, you know what? You screwed me over now. I'm not drinking this anymore.
Oh my god. Yeah, I actually have my own story that's not NFT related, sports related. I could share with you. That has to do with food. It's not very exciting, but I'm just trying to think of funny stories to tell you. And it happened last night. And I went over to a buddy's house, Tom, too, and he was like, he's this British guy, lives near me, and he's like, hey, I've got potato salad and ribs tonight. You guys should come over. All right, his lady's out of town for a couple weeks, so we went over there, kind of keep him company. And last time we went, he made us like some kind of fantastic like short rib or something like that. And this time he's like, hey, I've got ribs in the sous vide. Like I'm going to put them on the barbecue when you guys get there. We're super excited. And we get there and he's like, these have been cooking for like 24 hours. We're sitting around having a beer, having a Corona, his choice. And, talking about our day. And he's like, I'm going to get the barbecue on and put these ribs on. And he goes and puts them on the barbecue just to like, and they're done. Like they're cooked. Right. And he's just going to like crisp them up. Right. So he comes back in and we're chatting. And then I realized that like 15 minutes have gone by and I'm wondering in my head, I'm like, I wonder if those ribs are going to be ready soon. And he's like, I should go check on the ribs. Comes back inside like 10 seconds later. He's like, we're not eating ribs. The ribs are on fire. And I go outside and it's like one half of the barbecue is literally just like a bonfire. And the ribs are like just like a flaming mess. And he's just staring at it. And I'm like, no, man. Tom, I'm like, get them off the other half of the barbecue isn't even on. I'm like, get them off the flame, like move them or something. And he's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I think they're done. And I'm like, no. Like maybe it's not over. And all he has are these like sad little plastic tongs. You know what I mean? Like little salad tongs. Like, he doesn't have like good barbecue ones. You need the good barbecue.
You need those.
Steel. Yes. You need like the real tools, like real man's barbecue kind of thing. So I grab his tiny little plastic things. So this is like dangerous for me at this point. And I just yank them off, like, and they're stuck to the grill. And I turn them over. And they are like literally, I turn it over and it's like black. It's like, when you see like a car that's been in like an accident that's been like burned for hours, charred, it's just crisp. It's literally just charcoal. Like that's what it looks like. Yeah. And then we're like, well, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm fucking starving. And I live in like a small town, man. Like, don't forget. And it's Sunday night. And like everything in this town, like if you haven't ordered your takeout food at like 6 o'clock, you're done. Like nothing's open anymore. Right. So I'm like, no, this is like, we have to eat. Like, there's nowhere else we can eat other than we go to like McDonald's, which is like, I don't want to do. So what we ended up doing though, is I realized that like, it was only really the skin that had burnt because of like the sugary barbecue sauce. Yeah. So what we ended up doing is like eating, we ate them. And what we would do is like take a few ribs, put them in your plate, and then like peel off all the, because you can't, if you eat the charred stuff, like it's terrible for you. Like it's really, really bad to eat that. Is
it? I didn't know that.
Yes. Don't eat too much of it. A little bit, it's crispy and tasty, sure, whatever. But like if something's like badly burnt like that, like if you burn your toast, like cut off the burnt part. Like it's bad. I didn't know that. Much of it. It's bad for you to eat too much of it. A little bit of charcoal is good for like your system, but too much of it is very bad because you're eating like burnt carbon basically. So it's or something like that. It's bad. So we're like, we can't eat. So what we did, it was kind of like eating crab. So we kind of like picked apart these ribs, like took off all the burnt parts and then dunked them in a sauce and ate them with like the potato salad that was like a giant vat from like the simple grocery store. Like it wasn't homemade potato salad, just like a normal like big tub. So it was quite the feast of champions, is what I'll say. Wow. burnt ribs and
do that
tub of potato salad.
They catch on fire very easily.
You have to be very careful, man.
Yeah, and they're not ruined,
right?
Yeah.
But that like that oily kind of sugary sauce, like that can catch fire very easily and will drip down onto the flames, and the flame will come back up and kind of light everything. Especially if you get same thing if you have like a nice, like if you get like a sausage from the butcher that's been like nicely packed, as soon as it splits and the oils come out, then it catches fire because the flame just eats that up, right? So you be very careful with your with your meat on the grill.
Well, at least you got your ribs, man. I would have been pretty disappointed if the ribs were.
There's no other options. I had to eat them. Oh yeah. I was like, no. He was like, they're done. I'm like, no. I was like, we can say no. I don't give up, man. I'm like, we can save these. Like, if I still see a little bit of red, like we can eat these. See a little bit of brown on there. I was like, we there's still something here. There's enough for the three of us. So
I just didn't know that you can't eat that part. Now you've got me all worried about that. I'm always eating that part.
It's too late now, man.
I don't have a third arm or something coming out.
I don't think that's what would happen. Do you regularly burn things and eat them? What do you mean?
No, but I won't say no. First of all, I don't like stuff burned, but I'll never be like, it's ruined because it's a little charred. Like, who cares, right? I actually enjoy that part on like ribs and stuff. So I didn't know.
Well, I'm sure. You know what though? You know what we said though is that there's probably a little bit burnt is fine. Like that's not a big deal. But like an entire one side, the entire thing was black, like thick black. So it's like you shouldn't. That's kind of gross to eat anyways. But what we did say though is that there's probably somewhere. I'm going to point out the American South is like the cradle of barbecue. That is like a dish, like super burnt ribs. I'm sure there's somewhere where that exists, where people are like, come to this restaurant. We've got the best burnt ribs in town. I'm sure that somebody does that as like a special
for that. I can guarantee you that it is not. There's no way, man.
Somebody is gonna, every time we have these kinds of discussions on the show, there's always one or two people who write in with very specific knowledge about these things that are like, yes, I'm hoping that somebody is gonna write in from like Nashville or somewhere, be like, yes, there is one place that does ribs. Also, okay, here's a bigger question. What is the best state or town in the US to get barbecue? I'm sure that's a very controversial question.
Yeah,
sure
that would go on for
their place has the best barbecue. So I'm looking for an objective answer. It can't be a place that you're from. It has to be like 3 states over at least that you think has the best barbecue. It can't be. I have to
say, I didn't. I go on an NFL draft trip with all my buddies in the U.S. every year. We go every year to do our draft, and we pick one city. For those who don't know, I've talked about this many times. We pick one city in the U.S. where there's a baseball game in August. We go watch the baseball game on Friday. We do our draft on Saturday for the NFL. It's a group of guys from all over the U.S. I'm the only Canadian. We meet up. We're good friends.
Wow,
and it's a great trip. And we went to Pittsburgh one year, and we went to the restaurant, and one of the guys ordered like bone marrow. I was like, what? Like, excuse me? I don't even know what that means. Like, what? And then they brought out these gigantic bones, and they brought out some bread, and he was like digging out like the cartilage or whatever the hell that is, like between the bones and eating it. I'm like, dude, I don't understand what's going on right now. Like, and he's like, yeah, it's a delicacy. I don't get it.
It's not a Canadian thing. That's
for
not something
me. That's something though. If you told me this on the show, just like you're right about the burned food or the charred food. It's like someone out there loves this, and someone out there treats it like as a delicacy, right? For me, this bone marrow thing was the first time I ever saw this, and every time I see bones in like my steak, I'm like, is there stuff to like dig out of there that I'm supposed to be eating or what?
Well, bone broth is good for you. Right, like I don't know if you guys have like a slow cooker, but if you get like a chicken even from the grocery store, something like that, you must save the bones and then put them with some veggies into like a slow cooker for 24 hours, and then like with water, and then save the water, like which becomes bone broth kind of thing. So that's really, really good for you, right? That has like tons of vitamins and a lot of stuff that you need, but that's very different than actual like give me like bone marrow. A little bit different.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no. And we're already talking like tastes that are way beyond, I think, like the average NFT collector's palate.
I don't know. There's some pretty fancy people in the space.
It's true. As I will say, especially in First Mint, especially like people like Dr. Lumpia, who is always
and Andrew,
like literally. And Andrew, and posting the most like fine dining kind of cuisine. So I will say there are some fancy. There's a mix. I think there's people that like literally like drink Monster Energy drink for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then there's people that like do not eat unless it costs $500 kind of thing. I think there's like I think that's what's fun about like being in the space, being in crypto, is that you end up with like every walk of life in terms of what would you call that? Tastes. Let's put it that way.
You also have, but in between there, LG, we have to give another shout out. Feel like we give him a shout out every podcast. You have to give a shout out to our friend Chandler, because you've got all these fancy dishes being posted in our Discord, but Chandler will always post his like, man, I think Chandler's in Arkansas. That chicken sandwich he posted was one of the most outrageous things I've seen in my entire life. The bun was a regular hamburger bun, and the patty, like the chicken patty, was like the size of a cat. Like it was gigantic. And I'm like, what is that thing doing in that tiny little bun? That is the wildest sandwich I've ever seen. But a lot of different tastes, and it's kind of cool to see people coming from all different walks of life. And I'm that Monster Energy drink. I don't need that kind of energy, but I love Monster sometimes when I'm just like, man, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, long distance driving for me is something I do not enjoy at all. I do it a lot. And I feel like, just for me, it does a lot more than coffee does. Let's put it that way. I love coffee and I drink coffee all the time, but coffee for me also puts me to sleep sometimes. Like I could have a coffee at 8 or 9 p.m. and I'll sleep just fine. No problem.
I'm so jealous, man. I'm so jealous. If I have coffee,
it's so weird, right?
Like too late, like anytime after 2 o'clock, I am up for hours, man. I can't I can't do that. I can't even have sugar after like 5 o'clock, like in terms of like
Really?
processed
Wow.
sugar. Like, so my mornings are pretty epic, man. I have like 2 cups of coffee and like a bunch of cookies and shit. Because I'm like, I have a sweet tooth and I need to eat like before noon to get it all out of the way. So then I can have like a heavy like carb dinner and then pass out. You know what I mean? Like that's my route. That's what I've learned after like many years of trying to figure out why I can't sleep very well. That's what I figured out, is that it's like maybe stop like going for a fucking milkshake at like 9 o'clock at night. Maybe that's a big problem, you know. So,
makes sense.
Hey Phil D, did you catch WrestleMania? I want to chat. I don't want to chat WrestleMania. I want to talk some sports stuff, and then I have a lot to say as well, just for a little agenda about MLB, Sorare and Candy, and then Top Shot and Sorare NBA. I have quite a few things to say about that. But let's talk WrestleMania. Did you watch it at all? Did you catch any of that?
I only watched a bit. For me, April, May, especially April, is like the prime sports month. We say that 5 times a year. We say that when October hits. We say that when November, December, March Madness, all that. But April is when baseball, hockey, basketball, golf, they all collide. Okay.
Yes.
There is so much going on. And, you know, I have to say this in relation to the NFT space. If one thing I got out of this space that is kind of unusual from all the others is my love for MotoGP. I'm not joking. Like, that is not a sport I ever followed. I always saw it and thought it was stupid. And we bought those NFTs. So I'm like, you know what? That year we bought those NFTs, which was at the Top Shot's high. We were buying everything at that time. I decided to watch the circuit, right? Just for one season. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I love it more than F1 now. I find it more exciting. I find it storylines even better. But anyways, I still watch it now 3 or 4 years later, which is awesome. Or 2 years later, whatever we're at. I love it.
Did you watch WrestleMania?
But WrestleMania kind of was hard to fit it in just because of the amount of sports, right? It was a 2-night affair. It was at 8 p.m. Eastern both nights.
2 nights. That's so much.
I was busy both nights watching other things. Like there was a Leafs game going on. So I had it on. I was kind of flipping back and forth. But for me, it's just, when I lost the interest when I was younger, which I think was kind of right after high school, where for me, it really changed. Like it really changed. It's not what it used to be.
No.
But so I did catch parts of it, but I will say this, like their fan base is insane. It's
crazy.
Still insane. Like I'm looking at these fans at SoFi, which is a huge stadium, right? And I'm like, man, is it really that popular where these people are losing it to absolutely everything to the point where they came out for 2 nights? Like that's crazy, man. But yeah, I saw parts of it. I just miss all the old characters. I just like movies, LG, wrestling characters are not what they used to be. Like we were talking about this last week, like Mighty Ducks, they don't make movies like that anymore. They just don't. These classics.
It's different too. It's different too. I think like different things work for different generations, and they don't keep working for the next generation. Like I don't know if you could have kept like they kept trying to make other Mighty Ducks stuff, and it didn't sell as well. So I think they stopped. And honestly, I think if you go back and watch Mighty Ducks now, there's probably tons of shit that's like super offside that you can't. Like even the part where it's like Gordon Bombay gets a DUI, so he has to coach the team is like that's not like a fluffy move. That's like a really like that's like they made like a was it Ben Affleck movie, basketball movie like that recently that's like super dark and sad, but then heroic at the end. It's not like a DUI back in the 90s was like, that's hilarious. Now he has to coach a bunch of idiots. Like it was like a comical Disney movie, but it's just different now, right? Like things have changed. And what for WWE too, it's like, even though things have changed and maybe we're not the demographic we've grown out of it, it's like their heyday is the Attitude Era, which was when we were watching it, right? Like it still is super, super popular now. They've grown into like more of like a big media platform more than anything. But in terms of it being like the best storylines, the best stars, I think inevitably like people are going to look at the Attitude Era and maybe the era right after that of like maybe kind of like the John Cena, Bautista kind of times as like post that also good. But I think in recent years, it's been really hard for them to transcend out of that. I think UFC honestly has kind of filled the gap as well, where people really wanted to watch like actual fighting, right? So I think that you've kind of seen that balance out. But Phil, today the big news right after WrestleMania is that the WWE and UFC are combining to form a new company, right? Endeavor, which owns UFC, is essentially like absorbing WWE. Vince McMahon's been trying to sell the company for a long time now. It's been no secret. There's a point like a couple months ago where people were saying he's going to sell it to the Saudis, which didn't happen. But WWE valued at $9.3 billion, man. Like that's more than any NFL franchise.
So what?
Right?
I didn't read the
enormous.
details, but what are the details? Like, is Vince still part of this thing, or is he selling his
I don't think so.
ownership.
Like Vince is pretty
Wow.
friggin' old, so I think that's why he's been looking at like an exit, right? Because it's like I think they've been trying to like offload it before he passes away. Because I think he's in his like late 70s now. Like even in the Attitude Era, Phil, like he was pretty old. Like he was pretty old,
and he was jacked, and he was actually my favorite.
That was kind of messed up.
The whole thing was him. Yeah, we
knew
he was on
it was
something.
A little weird, right? So, but think about that for a second. What I just said, that the WWE is worth more than the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, that's wild.
Right. And I know it's an entire organization, but still, it's still like in terms of how you think of it, right? Like football is king, right? Especially in North America, especially in the US. But to think that the WWE is worth more than the most valuable NFL franchise tells you something about how much the WWE is worth. And the UFC, part of this deal of giving an evaluation is $12 billion. Man. So $3 billion more than the WWE. So those are massive companies.
How much are the WWE NFTs worth?
Which ones? The ones on Candy or the ones from that other super random company that we bought last year?
It wasn't super random. That was the WWE. It has to be
Moonsault.
Right? Moonsault. Right? Or even better for you, LG. What about those Undertaker ones we bought? Like, is there value there?
You know what? That's funny. It's funny you're bringing that up because there's actually, now that you mention it, there's been a lot of different WWE NFTs, right? So like way back, and this is exactly 2 years ago, Phil, because it was for WrestleMania last time.
That's right.
It was, I think 2 years ago was the Undertaker's like last match ever, right? In 2021, WrestleMania 2020 was like the end of Undertaker. He retired after that, right?
Yeah, I think so they were honoring him with like something. Yeah.
And you and I recorded a live show that we never published where you and I went to Bitsky, which is still around, but Bitsky, which was like the platform that we minted First Mint NFTs on later on. And they were doing like a limited edition Undertaker NFT drop. And we bought them and they were like $200 US a piece or something like that, like some obscene number. That was the first WWE thing. And then a year ago, they launched WWE Moonsault, which was on Solana, I believe. And that was part of some other company that honestly, it was pretty messy, but I ended up getting like do you remember this? I ended up getting a Mankind Legendary. Yes. I sold it for like $1,000 and and I think it's still the highest ever sale on that platform. Like nobody uses the platform. Lucky me. And before anybody says influencer, like they didn't know who I was. Like me buying it wasn't tied to my identity in any way. Like I bought it with credit card. It was super random. Or I bought packs. But then they also have Candy Digital, which to me is the closest to being like kind of legit. They had the free mint this weekend on Candy Digital, which was cool. I guess just go and get a free mint. I did see that at WrestleMania. They had like a giant truck with QR codes for Candy, telling people to scan the QR code and claim either Team Roman or Team Cody.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere on Twitter.
They were saying either. They were saying either, but like you broke the news, and there was actually like a mini rumble either in our chat or in the Discord. But it was either Team Cody or Team Roman. Yeah, and that's what it said. So people would just mint one of the two and be like, "All right, I picked Roman," and then others would be like, "I picked Cody." And it was kind of like a show your allegiance, right? And then LG comes in and drops a massive bomb in the Discord saying, "By the way, you can mint both." And I'm like, "Oh man, we just all like showed our allegiances here. Who we like better?" Okay, you can mint both. Is that?
It's not like it was The Rock or Stone Cold. It's not like some groundbreaking allegiance.
But those two are pretty big right now, though. Those two are pretty big.
Yeah, I know, but it's not.
Is that still open for mint? For if anybody's listening,
yes, you can still get it.
Okay,
yeah.
So if you
go
to
our Saturday newsletter, there's the link.
Yep. Okay, so if you go to candy.com, you can actually mint 2 free WWE NFTs.
And you can.
I assume they'll close it soon. So
you can also mint an MLB opening day pin as well. So Candy, I love free NFTs. Like even if it doesn't necessarily bring in all these new people, I think the idea of just having like, hey, come to the site, get a free NFT. I think that long term, even if you only do it sometimes, even if it doesn't bring in thousands of people, I think that does work. I do think that because I track Candy's numbers, and technically when you're claiming the free NFT, it asks you to like buy it for $0. So in this week's like rankings, like user report, I did include Candy because their buyer numbers like spiked like crazy. Like they're usually a couple hundred, like 400 or 500, but for this it was like 9,000. So I think across WWE and Candy, they had probably around 9,000 different accounts claim one. So that's pretty good, man. Like that's in terms of getting people back to the site to get a free NFT. That's pretty decent. And
but
again,
it's like, what do you do next is what matters, right? Like
for me, do next?
Like now that they're on your site, they're going to maybe like most are going to mint and just forget about it. That's the truth.
Yeah.
But there's got to be something to follow up. For me, if you minted one, you have to receive an email in the next week.
Yeah.
that sort of links you into another part of this. I don't know what, but for me, it's always been easy to get people to mint for free. It's just what you do with them after. I do it all the time. I mint stuff for free all the time, and then I'm like, okay, see ya. I don't know what this is for, but who cares?
Yeah.
Right?
That's an interesting point, right? Because I mean, Candy is also using it to like remarket to those people, right? Because today they had 2 MLB drops, right? And emails went out. Well, the first one sold out in 7 minutes, and the email came out at the 8-minute mark. So any of those people who got a free Candy NFT as their first NFT the other day was like, oh, I'll buy a pack for $20, and then got there and they're sold out, which is not bad, Phil. That's not necessarily a bad thing. People always think that that's stupid, but don't forget, early days of Top Shot kind of made a lot of people want it more when they couldn't get one. So not the worst thing. So I think that that's more so where their opportunity is to like remarket to those people because they then honestly have the most valuable part, which is their email, right? So I think that that's kind of what they're looking for. I feel like we're about to move on from WrestleMania because there's not much else to say. But before we do, Phil, I have to show you this video from WrestleMania that Tommy, Sports Investor 9, took, and I asked him to post it to Twitter so that we could share it. And it's basically of like a Paul Bear and Undertaker impersonators at WrestleMania. But there's a special surprise at the end. So I hope you can see the screen. For people that are just listening, you'll hear the audio, and I'll kind of describe it as it's happening. Okay, here we go. Phil, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay,
it's all part of this. I didn't see the whole thing.
Okay. Someone dressed as Paul Bear walking down the stairs
with the voice.
Undertaker behind them. The person as Paul Bear looks really good. The Paul Bear person looks like a very legit Paul Bear. It's kind of easy to be Paul Bear. Carrying an urn. Just outside WrestleMania, super random. But at the end, look at the Undertaker.
The woman.
This is like a sexy Undertaker.
Crypto babe?
I'll describe. So Undertaker, like at first I was looking at this, I was like, wait, why does Undertaker have like nice legs? I was like super weird.
And high heels.
But basically, yeah, it's like high heels and kind of like this tight spandex, long like black trench coat. But clearly like the I would say the figure of a woman, but then with like a drawn on goatee. So I love it. I was like, whoa.
Oh my god!
I thought that was
awesome. Really good though. Is that from WrestleMania though? Like, were these?
Yes, that's like outside SoFi.
Okay.
That's outside SoFi. Yeah, everyone's wearing like WrestleMania shirts. So
that's really good. Actually.
Yeah, it looks really good. And I also love the Paul Bear voice is also really hilarious. Also one more thing. Hold on. This is from CNBC when Vince McMahon went on this morning to talk about the merger, and it's like people have been commenting.
I saw this.
Vince McMahon is old. I don't like it was late 70s now, so he's starting to look really old. And I think for most of us used to watch him on TV like 25 to 30 years ago, like we're used to thinking he still looks like that. Whereas like, but now he has this weird little pencil mustache. So he kind of looks like the dad from the Addams Family. Well, I don't know if it's real, but he's trying to make it look like it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. He looks like what's his name? The Addams Family dad.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways,
before we move on from WrestleMania, LG, I just have really quick story. And I want to know if you know this or not. I think so. We're 4 or 5 years apart. So you were my younger brother. So I don't think you were we went to the same high school, but we were only there for I think a year at the same time.
We were there for a year.
A year. All right. I was at the end. You were there. Okay. So you wouldn't know this because this was around grade 10 or grade 11, grade 12. So at lunchtime, they used to they used to let you use. So our cafeteria, it's a small Catholic high school, had what? How many students? 200 students? 100 and something students.
Well, that's 330,
330, whatever it was.
Very small
place. Very small cafeteria where you eat lunch at cafeteria. Everybody eats at the same time. There's a big stage there for all the plays and the any sporting events or whatever it is, like any sort of like you used to have
like one big common room basically. Like there was like a gym and then there was a separate room.
So the theater stage
cafeteria and there's this theater stage and that's where you hold events. When there was a mass, that's where it'd be. Like it was everything was kind of in the same. It was very small high school.
So they used to say, hey, if you guys want to use it at lunchtime for like educational stuff, just let us know and you can have the stage and speak to people about, recycling, stuff like that. You don't know this story? You have to know this story. So
go ahead.
So
you're talking about your wrestling story. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we rented it out. We were massive wrestling fans back then. Okay. This is like the Stone Cold era, the Vince McMahon Mankind, Doink the Clown, all that. We rented out the stage saying we were going to be discussing recyclable products, blah, blah, blah. All right. There's a group of about 20 of us. I was one of the 2 leaders in this. Mom and dad, I don't know if you guys know this story, but doesn't matter at this point. Unless you want to ground me. Anyways.
Oh, you're talking to them. That they don't.
Yeah. So if you guys want to come ground me like 20 years later,
yeah, Phil's gonna get grounded after this. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, no allowance. Anyways,
you can't buy any more. You can't buy any more posters.
So I said, can we have the stage for whatever date? Yeah, sure. So we planned the.
Who'd you ask? Like the direction? Like
I just went into the head office there, the school admin, and said, listen, I want to sign out the stage. We're going to do an educational thing for all the people in the cafeteria while they're eating lunch. So we want an hour. Okay, we get an hour. And as you know, in the cafeteria, there are no teachers. It is all these kind of lunchtime people that are just watching kids, making sure there's no food fights, or there's no, fooling around. Nobody's doing crazy stuff. It's not really teachers for the most part. So we rented the stage and we organized like the biggest wrestling event ever. So we had about 20 people. Everyone was a designated wrestler. Like Vince McMahon was a small guy in a full suit. Okay. He was going to take a chair shot from Mankind. And then Mankind was going to give him Socko in his throat with a real
everybody's dressed up.
So everyone backstage is kind of gathering and getting dressed up. And we've got someone actually in the technical room running the music. For each wrestler, there's going to be music. So I had to be someone. I couldn't just be the person organizing this. But we had ladders and everything. Chairs, ladders, everything. This was going to be the spectacle of the century. And the show started. I decided to kick off the show. And I don't know if you remember this character, but there was a character called Val Venus.
Of course.
Okay, so Val Venus was kind of the character he played. He was from Toronto. The character he played was like, I guess, a porn star is what he was supposed to be in wrestling. Every time he came to the ring and his music came on, which just sounded like some crazy sensual music, he would come out in a tiny little towel, all drenched in like water, and he would whip the towel off like he's got nothing under, but he's got his little tiny, little bikini thing,
his little Speedo right? Or whatever.
Little Speedos. Yeah. So I said, you know what? I'm going to be Val Venus. So sure enough, the Val Venus music plays. Okay, you have all these unsuspecting people in the cafeteria. The curtain whips open, right? I come out in just a towel, drenched in water, way too much water actually we put. And the show went on. And it went on for a good 30 minutes. We were allowed to go on, and we're talking real chair shots. Like people were hitting each other with chairs. There was a referee. Someone jumped off a ladder. It was pure pandemonium. And then sure enough, got the call to the office. Like, I think it was like the next day. I don't know what it was. And the rest I'm not going to discuss. It's history. But it was an event that we'll never forget. And the fans lost it. Like the students in the
fans. Who are the fans? Who was watching?
They became
who actually sat around during their hard-earned lunch break in high school to watch that?
Oh man, I'll tell you right now, they went bonkers. So it's one of those where it's like you can do bad things at school. Like there's kids that'll choose to do drugs and bring weapons and fight teachers and stuff like that. And then there's this kind of stuff, right? That was more my vibe. If I was going to get in trouble for stuff, it was stuff like this. It was more prankster type stuff. Never any really bad stuff. But every time WrestleMania comes around and a reason for people to have eyes on wrestling, that comes up in our friends chat or on Facebook or wherever I keep in touch with high school friends. Do you remember that event? Well, of course I remember that event. I was one of the organizers. And I just can't believe it went on for that long. Like, I don't know if the lunchroom people thought like, oh, they got the stage to do this today. Cool. Let it go on. So we're done. And now thinking back, imagine chair shots in today's day and age, right? Like giving someone else a full chair shot.
Well, first of all, I feel like that kind of stuff is like, forget doing that in high school anymore. You know what I mean? Like everything I feel. And again, you've got kids that were in high school or are in high school and were recently in high school. So that's, more than I do, but I feel like that kind of stuff is like gone now. There's no, like, you're not allowed to do any kind of shit like that anymore. Not at all. Especially you whipping off a towel to show Speedo or something like that. Like, I feel like that's done. Like every single parent is going to get a letter if that happens today. You know what I mean? Or like if there's some kind of chair shot. There was a fight club at our school. I don't know if you were around for that. Yeah. But once I came, like after school, I was like playing football or something. And then I went, like the curtain to that stage was closed, so you couldn't see it from the cafeteria. And I just went around back. I was trying to find something, or I don't know what I was doing. And a couple guys were fighting like it was an actual fight club. And they were actually punching each other. No. Like a group of like 6 dudes. Audience? And 2 of them were standing there in the middle, and they're fucking punching each other in the face. Like, were we just like more messed up than today's generation? Like, is everybody like too safe now?
No, there's actually messed up stuff that goes on now, but not that kind of stuff. It's a different vibe, right? Yeah. So, but no, that was good times, man. We were allowed to do that. Like that was.
Dude, we had some like twisted movies, man. Like remember, like especially for I don't know, for guys too, but for girls too. Like remember movies like The Craft and like all the, you know what I mean? That's like these high school girls, and they're all going to commit witchcraft and like kill people and shit. Like that's messed up. Like you can
even
put
Blair Witch and stuff like that had like a cult following, and they drove people insane at like even Scream. To be honest with you, like Scream had people at Halloween like thinking about doing the craziest things and acting like killers and showing up out of nowhere with that stupid mask on, right?
Yeah, you know what? So you know what? I think that now we still have that. Now it's just way more direct. Like people like, you know, like TikTok Tide Pod challenge, or kids were eating Tide Pods and shit like that. Like, but I'm saying is that kind of, I think like the media is still influencing kids now. It's just way more direct. So there's a lot easier to blame versus like everybody saw Scream and then 6 months later people are trying to reenact it kind of thing. So I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit different, but I'm just saying we were fucking weird in the 90s too, man. Kids are weird now, and kids were weird back then as well. Phil, let's change topics. Who do you have tonight in NCAA? Because people will probably be listening to this once the game is done. We're still about 4 hours out from tip off. Who do you have today? And what did you think of the games on the weekend?
I mean, it was a crazy finish in the San Diego State game. I mean,
I couldn't believe that, man. Right? I thought they were done for sure.
Florida Atlantic was too bad. Like for me, that was a Cinderella. They were still going. I did ask our dad, just to follow up the last podcast. I'm like, Dad, I know you listen to that podcast. So like, what's the answer? Like, which team are you supporting? There's no weird names.
Because he likes the weird teams. Yeah, Dad always wants the weird teams. Yeah.
And he straight up gave me like, I don't care. Like whatever. I'm just following.
I feel like a lot of people like the thing that's both good and bad about March Madness is that it's like those first couple days are so insane that it's super fun, right? Because even when like the Purdue loses, you don't even have time to think about it because that team's playing less than 48 hours later, and there's so many other games on and so many upsets and so many.
That's just it. You go game to game to game to game. There's no time to think or discuss.
But that's so fun. But then it dies significant. I'm sure the interest dies significantly,
just like everything else.
Like in the 4 days, 3-4 days in between that, like the end of the round of 32 and the start of the Sweet 16, like there's a huge drop off. And then even I was guilty of that on Saturday. I was like, oh, that's right. Like the games are on today. Like I completely forgot, and I only caught like the second half of the San Diego game.
Not one person that I spoke to today is like, yo, you watching the game tonight? Like who's winning? That's just the nature of sports. It's also like that in NBA and NHL sometimes. The early rounds provide all sorts of chaos. Everyone's watching every night because it's on every night. But once you get to the finals, it's on every other night. It's no longer prestige the way it was earlier on in terms of like people like chaos. They like that there's 4 games in one night. You're going to be watching the Lakers and you're going to be watching the Warriors after. You're going to be watching the Celtics all on the same night. People just love that. But when it comes down to it's kind of like fatigue too. The World Cup is the exact same, right? World Cup, amazing chaos in the group stage. There's 4 games a day. Then it comes down to like the knockout rounds where it's 1 game per day, and it's just like, you know what? It's not the priority anymore. It's not a full day event.
I think also like with brackets too, right? It's like literally on the first day, everybody's brackets were like destroyed when like Arizona lost.
This year didn't help for that. Like this year was really bad.
It's like we were destroyed immediately. So I think that changes, but also like there's peak interest at the start of things. So I think that's normal, and also more people have skin in the game, right? When there's 64 teams in, people have more personal allegiances, right? And there's still a lot of like, when Alabama is still in it, there's more interest because they have a lot of fans. But it's like by the time they're out, like how many fans of freaking the San Diego State Aztecs have? Like not a lot. UConn has a lot.
Funny you say that because they showed the end of the game at the San Diego Padres game on the Jumbotron. Like they showed the last possession or whatnot.
I saw that.
And when they scored that bucket, the fans went bonkers. But I'm like, hold on. Are they actually fans, or are they just because it's San Diego, they're going to support? Just like we would for Toronto. We'd go crazy if it was like whatever, right? But are they lifetime fans? I don't think so. I don't think San Diego State lifetime fans is a thing. I don't think anyone in San Diego ever talks about San Diego State or the Aztecs, right? Not like they would like UConn. Like UConn.
Well, I can't imagine it's like the top game in town, right? Especially when you have the Padres, as one of the World Series favorites this year. A lot of stars in town. I mean, they did just lose an NFL team, so maybe a bit more space for. I mean, it'll be a big deal now. They'll be a big deal for a couple of years, right? Having gone this far, so maybe that'll raise the profile. Maybe they'll have more recruiting, so maybe it'll make it more of a thing. But yeah, you're right. I can't imagine that San Diego State is like top billing in San Diego, but open to be proven wrong here. Maybe the San Diegans can write into us and let us know if San Diego State was on the radar. But you're right. UConn.
Yeah,
That's the
UConn
thing.
has history too, right? Like think of like
especially in the last like 25 years or whatever it is that they've won
sure.
like what 3 titles, 4 titles, whatever it is,
like
right?
when
So
Campbell was
like,
there and guys like that, like they had some
exactly.
guys who became stars in the NBA. But
actual prominent players.
You also won't find LG a single person taking San Diego State tonight. They're big underdogs.
It's a great bet. Yeah.
And UConn, actually, to be honest with you, has dominated everyone they've played since the start of January. If you go back and look, and they did it kind of under the radar. You didn't hear about UConn. When UConn even came up in the bracket, I'm like, I watch a ton of college basketball. I don't remember seeing UConn games at all.
No,
and I don't remember them doing anything. But they've not just been beating teams since the start of January. Mm-hmm. They've been winning their games by like an average of 20 points, and they actually did that in this tournament as well. They've been beating everyone by 20 points, so they look unbeatable. They look like an NBA team at times. Mm-hmm. But just like in every other sport, when everyone is on the same thing, and because it's a final, and San Diego State has actually pulled off the impossible many times in this tournament. Anything can happen. Now, personally, I think UConn wins. I really do.
It's hard to bet against that. Like it's hard to bet against that. But I think literally, was it on last week's podcast we were talking about how, the whole like, do we live in a simulation where like the impossible seems to happen often now in sports, right? So something like this, to me, like that's ripe for that theory of like, okay, like you said, the Huskies have been crushing everybody, even in this tournament. Like the start of the Miami game, they literally hit like 3 3-pointers right away.
It was over.
And they're up by 9. And it was like immediately over. Like within 2 minutes, the game was over. There's tonight is ripe for that idea of like, hey, the totally impossible happens. Right. So
maybe we don't know. But
maybe of course. No, of course. And then if the Huskies win, I'll never think about that again. Right. But
Miami for me was disappointing because, I thought they had looked good, and they had looked good all season, actually. That's a team I followed a lot. But the issue with Miami and the coach they have, Jim Larrañaga, is that they look like they were almost just too – like they look like a team playing with house money. They look like they didn't expect to be there. They look like they were having a little too much fun in terms of like, you know what? We made it, and we don't care what's going to happen from here on in, which is an okay mentality. But – to win a national championship, you have to have like a killer instinct, right? You can't just be happy to be there. That's not going to work.
No.
At some point, you've got to kick in that extra gear. Okay, you know what? We are playing with house money. We weren't supposed to be here. Nobody picked us. But now it's time to really turn this up. But they never adapted that mentality. They just continued on with like, man, we are having such a great time. Our practices are so upbeat. We love this. We're dancing in the dressing room after, in the locker room. But for me, that's not killer instinct, right? So they were disposed of. They weren't even in that game at any point. So it was a little disappointing. I thought that game would be closer, to be honest with you. But
what I will say about tonight is that I don't like San Diego State is not the worst bet though, and obviously Huskies are probably a better team. But it's like San Diego State has won their last 2 games by a point. By fucking point. And that game against FAU, like literally you're watching it, the last like 5 minutes, you're like, okay, well, FAU keeps pulling away by 5, 6. One more made basket. They get like literally they had so many like absolute dagger shots that missed. That was like they hit that, the game is literally over.
Even that layup at the end there, like seriously.
Yeah, and San Diego State like literally won it at the last second. They hadn't been leading in the game since like the second quarter. The guy who hit it hadn't hit a bucket all second half. So and like they beat Alabama, right? They destroyed Furman before that. They beat Creighton by 1 point. Like it's what I'm saying is that winning games by 1 point and scraping by and coming back. It's like I think maybe what that does to the locker room is that anything is possible, right? And that if you're getting a second half and it's a tight game, like there's one team in there that has been conditioned to come back and to stay in the game in their last couple of games and to defeat teams that should by all rights beat them, and that's San Diego State. Whereas like UConn, like if you, or even think about it this way, like if UConn is down by 10 points in the second half, they have not faced that scenario at any point in months, right? So that's anything. That's what I mean by like anything can happen. Where by all rights, of course, it should be UConn, but you never know, right? Like that's what makes
it should be UConn. We agree on that, but just like the hockey team that I coached, our road to the final included way more difficult situations than the other team or any other teams we faced, and it actually built us into a champion, right? So now it's down to one game. The right strategy could easily take care of business in this game, right? So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm excited to see it. I don't like when there's a heavy favorite because you never know. But a lot of times, the most hyped up championship games turn out to be the worst games, right?
Yeah.
And they're boring. So I'm hoping for the complete opposite here, where everyone's expecting UConn to win by a ton. And San Diego State will do exactly what they did, is they fought back in their last couple of games and they won, right? So I think we're in for a pretty good game, man. I don't think you'll like say miss the first half and see someone down by 20. I just don't see it. Not with these teams.
One thing that's so painful in the NCAA games is the missed free throws.
It's awful.
Like especially because especially at the end of the games, like so much is being decided by free throws. But man, like
it's horrendous.
So many missed free throws, right? And it's like it's one thing NBA players miss free throws. Like I don't know, they do this professionally. They get paid millions of dollars. Like there's kind of no excuse in the NBA to be a bad free throw shooter. But in NCAA, it's different, right? Like it's not, you don't have as many years of practice, and it's painful when they miss some of those shots, man. Like right at the end, so many emotions.
Always.
And I'm sure that's going through a lot of FAU players' minds. I think they missed quite a lot of free throws in those last 5 minutes. And they lost by point, right? So that's tough. So Anyways, I think it's gonna be a good game. I'm with you. Like I hope it's a fun game. Honestly, like I hope it's not another UConn blowout. And I would bet, like, what's the spread? Do you know what the spread is?
I don't know. I have no idea. I only saw listening to, I think it was ESPN. I just heard, I heard that UConn was a massive favorite. That's all I heard. So I assumed it would probably be like somewhere in that area.
Yeah, 6.5. They're 6.5 point favorites for UConn. So I think for me, I would take San Diego covering the spread. Like I think that they have earned the confidence of people for them to keep it closer than other teams have against UConn.
That's right.
That's what I would take.
As long as it's a close game, that's what I'm looking for. Like I said, I'm not sitting here like, oh my God, 3 hours left till the championship game. I have more that feeling for football, to be honest with you, when the football has championship game for college football. But basketball is like, all right, I don't know if it has to do with the teams that are in it, but I think that's how it always is. Like you said, we're at a fatigue stage with March Madness, where it's like, all right, this is it, man. And it's just a weird feeling, right?
And the other thing too, what's funny too, though, is that there's no NBA games. Like the NBA clears its slate.
They do it on purpose. Just like Super Bowl, there's no sports on Sunday night.
No, of course not. Yeah, but I think that's funny because you're right. It's like March Madness fatigue. At this point, it's like, all right, just want to know who's going to win. But at the same time, it is like the sports world does kind of get out of the way, right? When there's going to be like this is one of the few instances in the sports world where the other, or at least I don't know if there's MLB games tonight, but like most of the other sports get out of the way for this, right? So on top of Super Bowl, are there any MLB games?
Do you remember?
There's MLB games.
There's a ton of MLB. MLB's not stopping anything right now.
MLB doesn't give a shit,
like, no, they're like screwed.
There's actually, even the Padres are playing at like 20 minutes after the start of this game.
That's right. So, but they had that. Don't forget, they had that schedule. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, I know they had it.
MLB schedule came out way before they knew San Diego State would even have a shot. And one more thing about March Madness is that a team, I've told you this before, a team from the Big Ten Conference or the Pacific Time Zone have not won the championship since the year 2000. Where that's a lot of time. That's 20 something years. I think a team from the Pacific Time Zone is even more. It's something like 30 years since they've won the championship, and San Diego State can change that tonight. Obviously,
it was like nothing west of no team west of like Kansas or something had won.
That's right.
In like
that's insane when you think of the history at like UCLA and all that, right? So big night for the West Coast, and I think I'll root for the underdog, man. Like I have no horse in the race, but like I just want a good game. If I'm going to waste my time, I don't want to see a blow, and I don't think we'll see a blow. I really don't. But it's hard to say that because UConn has destroyed everybody. So
the last Pacific Time Zone team was UCLA in 1995.
95. Wow, that's 28 years, man. So I was right with UCLA. That's what came to mind only.
Yeah,
no, you're right.
Arizona in 97 for like kind of more Western teams, but then ever since then,
that's still Pacific Time Zone though. All right.
Yeah, but that's 90. No, they're Mountain Time.
Are they?
Arizona's
Mountain Time? Okay.
Yeah, Arizona's Mountain Time.
I don't know my time.
But after that, it's been like just Connecticut's, Kentucky's, Duke's, North Carolina's, Florida, like just a mix of all that kind of Louisville, like all that kind of stuff, Villanova, for quite a while. So yeah, very, very exciting. That's great. Well, I mean, I'll catch part of it. It's late for you though, right? That's starting at like 10 o'clock.
It's at 9:20 local time, which is kind of weird. But basketball, I mean, it's no different than the championship game for college football. It goes on to like almost midnight our time. So the basketball is a shorter game. Speaking of short games, What do you think of the Major League Baseball
yeah.
pitch clock, man? Seriously, what do you think about it?
How many violations have there been so far this season? Do you know?
Well, what drove me insane is that I'm a huge Marcus Stroman fan. Like literally nobody else in Toronto likes him for whatever reason. I guess he's misunderstood. Again, there's a thing with Toronto sports fans that if you're too mean, like in terms of you're too like passionate, you're not liked here. That's just how it is for whatever reason. And that's how Marcus Stroman was. The guy had something to say about everything. He was always trying to soft fights with everybody. Yeah. And he loved the city. He's got the entire city skyline tattooed on his body, and then he just got thrown out of town. But he did get an ovation when he came back. I think it was last year, which is great to see. But Marcus Stroman was the pitcher for the first MLB game of the season. And he spun a gem, okay, like an actual gem, like a beautiful, I think 6 or 7 inning performance, 7 or 8 strikeouts, shutting down. Was it Milwaukee? It was one of good offenses. Anyways, and the headlines. All I could see everywhere, as I saw the headlines absolutely on every website, anywhere you would look, it said Marcus Stroman. I'm like, oh shit, they're actually going to honor him for that great commits the first pitch count violation. And no other context, like not while spinning a gem, just he commits the first violation. Like keep that in your mind for future trivia. He's the first one to do it. So, I mean, there have been violations, but they don't really do much. Like if you think about it, a ball or a strike, unless it's in a really important moment, it's not going to change the outcome of the game that much, right? I mean, just pretend you fouled the ball off. If you get an automatic strike, just pretend it was a foul. Where I have an issue with this thing is if it impacts a game like late in the game, because we all saw the Mike Trout versus Shohei Ohtani at bat at the World Baseball Classic. And there was some guy who did a report on that, and he put a pitch clock on it. Even though there was no pitch clock at the World Baseball Classic, he put a pitch count for every pitch in that at bat, and there was a violation, like something like 18 out of the there was 7 or 8 violations in that at bat alone
for both Trout and Ohtani.
Both. Which
for the batter box
for me was like that's one of the more iconic at bats in baseball of the last whatever years.
Yeah, of course. That's you could, it's a dream matchup. Like that's the matchup. People had touted it even before the tournament started. Like how cool would it be if it ended on that at bat, and it actually did. Like the thing actually happened. You can't script this. You can't, no matter how much on a strikeout too. It ended on a strikeout, not like a pop fly. Right? It's like nobody else was even involved in the play. Like there's no outfielders, didn't ground out to first or anything.
Now
like
imagine
that.
A violation on that in the game. You know what I mean? Like I think there has to be something where maybe in the 9th of a 3-run game that there's no such thing as a pitch count, because I love it. I'm not gonna lie. Like the fact that the games are done in 2 hours and a half, 2 hours and 45 minutes. All right. That's it's great. It's actually really cool. I mean, some fans don't like it, but I think it's nice. It was
I think it's necessary, especially like right now, baseball's starting, so we're all talking about it. But honestly, fast forward 2 months and nobody gives a shit about baseball, right? And you're just kind of like half the team's already out of it, and you're just the dog days of summer, right? That's what's nice about baseball. It's a bit of a slow sport. You can kind of sit around at a game in the middle of the hot day, have a hot dog and a beer, and just chill. But those games are long, man. Like it's like a meaningless. There's so many meaningless games in the MLB. So like those games that are in June, July, August between the bottom shit teams, and we've seen a lot of them in our lifetime, Phil, because the Blue Jays have been bad many times.
This year's another one of them. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. The Jays have been terrible many times for long stretches. That it's like you still want to go to a game. It's fun to go to a pro sports game. It's fun to go to a baseball game. Bring the kids, whatever. Bring your family. But man, is it exhausting when the game's 3.5 hours long. Right. So I think that that's a huge. I think that has so much of a bigger impact that people realize outside of just, hey, this is happening this way. It's like I think over years, the MLB is trying to do anything they can to bring fans back. And I think a huge part of that is making games just more palatable. Like there was a game the other day that was 2 hours and 3 minutes.
It was
awesome.
I think it was
great.
Oh man, I was watching that.
Who
game.
was that?
It was a Cleveland and Seattle game.
Yeah.
It was one of the Cleveland Seattle games. But here's my question though: how do like beer stands feel about that? And like the teams that are bringing in a lot of money because the games are so damn long that you can go to the beer stand like 5 or 6 times in a game. Now it's like people are probably rushing to get their drinks. These games
sponsors
are flying.
Well, I mean, they're going to take a huge hit on revenue across the board, right? Because you're going to get less TV revenue as well. Right, because you're paying a premium to be on during the game. When the game's an hour shorter, then that's a huge hit. But at the same time, it's like that is nothing compared to how many fans the MLB has lost in the last 10 years. It's enormous. Like the average viewership, all that kind of stuff, it's down so much since like 2009. So it's like, that's, yeah, it sucks to take the hit short term on revenue, but I think it's like long term, like they know they need to change the game. They know they need to make it more exciting.
You've been to Jays games, and we've seen it for years, LG. You go to Blue Jays games, and the game will be a tie game or a close game. And in the 7th inning, people are just heading for the exits because they're like, you know what? It's a weeknight. This thing's heading past 10 o'clock. Still 2-3 innings left. This thing could go till 11. Nobody wants to be at sporting events on a weeknight till 11, even though I don't care. But there's a lot of people with kids. And I'm always like, who are these losers leaving at this time, right? But then you kind of get it. You're like, okay, well, they've been here since 7. And it's now 10 something, and this game's nowhere near done, right? So I totally get it. I do. That'll keep the fans in their seats. Now you're not blinking because you don't have time to blink anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and if you zoom out too on MLB, it's like you have huge salaries and huge valuations, but they haven't adapted to like, and this is a huge part of the narrative. They haven't adapted to like the social media age, right? Where it's like Ohtani's Instagram followers now is up to 5 million.
Oh yeah.
Which is like nothing compared to even like a average NBA all-star. You know what I mean? Like that is like maybe the greatest baseball player fucking ever because he's a freak and is still kind of young, and it's like he's so unique and a marketable star for sure. And he has 5 million Instagram followers, which is a lot, but it's like nothing compared to I don't know, like what LeBron has, right? Or what I don't know, Messi has, or any other guys who are the top most popular guy in their sport or whatever. Yeah. And even then, like Aaron Judge has even fewer, right? So it's even if you think like, okay, Ohtani, he's not marketable enough because he doesn't speak English, and he's not your traditional baseball player. It's like, well, Aaron Judge is a Yankee. He's on the most popular team, most valuable team, broke a home run record, still has nowhere near as many Instagram followers as like an average freaking NBA all-star,
but they do have heavier pockets than all the other sports. That's for sure. There are relievers, not even closers. There are relievers in Major League Baseball making more money than Connor McDavid, arguably one of the greatest hockey players of all time, of our generation for sure, who's playing right now and breaking all sorts of records. He makes $12 million a year. There are relievers making more than that per year in baseball. So it's always been crazy to me how much baseball players make. It really has. It's wild. Like it really is.
Well, that's what's like. That's why I think they're trying to change this. It's like, listen, you've got to turn that around. Sorry, Aaron Judge has 1.6 million Instagram followers. Donovan Mitchell has 3.4. Like just there you go, right? Like that. Right? That's like, come on. And I know Instagram's not the most important thing, but honestly, like you want to talk about getting relatively younger people interested in your sport, like that to me is insane. Right. And it's like, sure, salaries, whatever valuations, it's like you're trending in the wrong direction when Donovan Mitchell has more Instagram followers playing in Cleveland and prior to that in Utah than Aaron Judge.
He's so good,
staple the Yankees.
He feels like one of the more underrated players in the league. He's so good. I was watching him yesterday. I'm like, man,
he's great. He's great. Don't get me wrong. But in terms of like that, still does like the MLB has not. It is
not even
really
close.
Struggling to prop up stars in any kind of way, right?
And it's funny because the World Baseball Classic actually opened a lot of eyes as to how great events like that can be. And maybe they shouldn't be every 4 years. I know it makes it more special, but man, was that, or 3 years, whatever it is. But that was special. But listen, back to the original point. I'm a huge fan of the pitch clock. I love that you don't see it that much on TV. I was afraid it was going to be like some huge board in the back. But did you hear last night? I don't remember what game it was. It was a super, super tight game. I think it was in Seattle. And it was a tie game. It was in extra innings. And the fans were chanting a fake clock down for the other pitcher. They were chanting like 5, 4, 3, and there was like 15 seconds left. Really messing with his head, man. Like the entire crowd was doing it.
That's so good.
It just brings a whole new element because baseball games can be boring. Like the wave sometimes is the most exciting part of a baseball game is when everybody's doing the wave, right? But in this case was like, man, I'm like, you know what? This is bonkers what's going on in Seattle right now. I know Seattle fans are wilder than most places, but it was great. Like a whole new element to home field advantage. It didn't work, but they still lost. But yeah.
You know, I love that's what I used to go to a lot of Blue Jays games, as you remember, because I used to have season tickets.
$5 season pass in the upper
when I was deck. It was that in Toronto they used to sell a $100 season pass back in like 2008 because the team was garbage. The only good players were Roy Halladay and like Vernon Wells, and sorry, Alex Rios, and that was like basically the team. Aaron Hill, anyways. Adam Lind.
Please stop. Please.
Anyways, and you know, going to the game. There's one year I went to like 45 games, which was super fun. But you go to enough games, you see a lot of really weird stuff. Like once, you know, Josh Towers was on the team. He was the number 5 pitcher, and he was garbage. And the start of year, he was like 0-6, and his ERA was like 9. And literally, some guys at the very top row brought like postcards to update his ERA as the game went, because even in that game where they did that, he allowed like 6 runs in the first 2 innings. So you see a lot of fun stuff, right? People get up. I will say that's what's fun about the baseball experience is there's a lot more room for like fan creativity and it's because it is so slow. And like once we saw a pigeon poop on somebody, like a pigeon, because there's pigeons that lived in the Sky Dome, and they flew low and they literally shit on somebody. And the entire section started chanting, "You got shat on." So baseball's
that just goes to show you people are not watching the game, man.
People are watching the game, and maybe that's kind of part of it. But I'd still say, yeah, I think they'll still have that. You'll still have a lot of the fun of going to the baseball stadium. But what'll be nice is the game will be done at 9:30 or on a weekday, like when the games are at like 1 o'clock. Getting out of there at 3:30 rather than 4:30 gives you plenty of time to go home, chill, and do something in the evening, right?
Well, they already sped up the game a little bit with this extra inning rule, right? Where there's a runner that starts on second. That's a rule that actually started in like the Japanese league and I think in the minor leagues or whatnot.
When did that start in MLB last year?
I think either last year or the year before. But it almost guarantees that games will not go like. Do you ever remember waking up the next morning and you'd hear about like a 19-inning game? And it's like, okay, but nobody scored in those like extra. You just played 2 games. Nobody scored in the second game. I mean, who wants to sit there and watch that? Absolutely nobody.
There's once I was at the Blue Jays game until like 1 a.m. on like a Wednesday night because it went to like 15 innings and I just wanted to die. It was kind of thing where it's like by the time, like when you're there, they lost, and it was like when you're there and the clock ticks midnight, you're like, I can't leave now. Because I've been here for so long. Like you can't leave since you're already you're committed. Like sunk cost fallacy. You're already there. But fuck, it was so bad. I was like, this sucks. Like, it made me just freaking hate baseball.
This ends games pretty early, man. It had that's right. I know it's a shitty way to do it. It's not like natural to start a runner on base like that.
Who cares?
But it just had. It's not like you're not going to do a home run derby.
It's 2023, man. Who fucking cares, man? I honestly like. I couldn't care less about baseball traditionalism of like, hey, they've been doing it this way since 1886, and it's like, that's the only thing in the world that's been done the same way since 1886. Like, that's cute, but like, I'm sorry, your viewership is going down. I honestly couldn't give a shit about the history, and this is a certain way it's always been done, man. Like, they used to smoke cigarettes and drink beer during the games and like do whatever the hell they wanted. Like, it's very different now. This record hasn't been broken since 1907. Like, cares, man? It's not even, that's so outside of anybody's purview. It's like, I don't think that matters to anybody. So
we don't hear much about it, but I'm actually waiting for like a big moment to be impacted in the game for people to really start snapping. Otherwise, the feedback's been really good. Not gonna lie, nobody's really complaining that much. Some players take longer to adapt than others, but I'm just waiting for that one incident there where a game gets ruined by this, which is why I said maybe in the 9th inning of a close game, it shouldn't be a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe they could change it for the playoffs. I would say maybe something for playoffs. They could adapt it a little bit, push it to 20 or 25 seconds.
Final 3
hours.
But
I will say, playoff broadcasts for MLB also super long. And I think that's maybe when you're playoffs of every sport probably attract the casual fans who don't watch many games, right? Because you're invested in your team. It's exciting. It's World Series. You're like, oh, who's in it this year? Houston or whoever, right? Like you're kind of, that's when you come back around to it. So I think that's a good way to maybe capture fans as well, as to have quick games, even in the postseason, even when it's extra dramatic and it's extra long. I don't think it's the worst thing for those games to be fast as well, right? Let's talk some NFT news. We had MLB Sorare ETH Rewards are going live this Friday. So it's basically only on the pro competitions, and it amounts to, I actually did the math as soon as I saw it. They just announced it. They just put out the numbers today. it's about $3,900 a week per game week. So that's twice per week, right? Because the game weeks are only 3 or 4 days long, right? So that's for every game week, which is 3 days long. It's $3,900 split across all the different tiers. So even in the limited tier, like the max you can win, I think is like $200. The minimum you can win is $5 or $2 or something like that, which is hilarious for like the top 100 spots. There are still competitions where you win cards, right? But this is for the pro competitions. And if you add all of that up, it comes out to about 200 grand a year being paid out by Sorare, which is interesting. Okay. I don't think it's nearly enough. I'll give my opinion right away, and then Phil, I want to go to you. I'll give my opinion. It's like you want to compete with the DraftKings, and you want to be a big deal here, and you want to kind of bring in a lot of people and bring in like the real sports bettors, because let's be honest here, that's the point for Sorare. They want to bring in the people that are super hardcore DFS people. Like that's the target market. They want to eat into DraftKings and FanDuel, and with the NFT twist. So with their licenses that DraftKings doesn't have, right? Because Sorare has NBA, MLB, DraftKings does not, right? So I think that's kind of like the end game. And I think honestly, like putting out 200 grand for the entire season to me is nothing, right? Like that is like, you are not going to bring in the heavy hitters for them to come in and their goal to win $200 a week, right? Or $400 a week just by finishing first. Like, I think you need a lot more. If you compare it, like, I don't know, I had somewhere their numbers. I think they made like their primary sales last season for MLB were like 1.5 million. I'm sure they're going to track somewhere close to that this year. So you're looking at like a 13, 14, 15%, I guess, reward pool. So like an 85% rake on their primary profits, which to me at this point in the market is like super greedy. Like, especially if you look at what Rainmakers did for NFL, it's like their primary pack sales were like 35 million and their rewards were like 22 million. Like they had like a 45% rake. Like that's fair, right? The fans won a lot. The players won a lot. So this to me is very low, especially for trying to grow a product that is really, really only finally broke 1,200 buyers this week. And prior to that had like 400. So that's my opinion. I think it's good. Obviously, ETH Rewards, very, very good. Everybody wants that. But my opinion right off the bat is they need to up that significantly if they want to bring in that mass market.
Well, yeah, because then you'll just go play like DraftKings and stuff. What's the point, right?
Yeah, then you just fire up DraftKings and just play normal MLB DFS,
which
right?
you
like
already love, and the platform
where you can make more money.
Great. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, for me, one of the things, and I have to say though, ton of the stuff I bought in the last few months, I was able to sell for double what I got. And now I wish I bought more. Seriously, I wish I bought like hundreds.
That's what I've been saying.
Just to sell them. Like right before the season, the value went to the lowest it's been all off season. So when we bought them, they were kind of all right. Then it went like way below what I had paid for all of them. I'm like, all right, these things are a disaster.
What were you buying? Like limiteds?
Yeah, limiteds. Like remember I told you the VAR shows and all that. Like, man, in the last week before the season, even last week leading up to the season, those things went up big time, man. I was able to sell so many of them and take away a profit, which is great. Now, I did play the free contest in week 1. I think I put in a limited too, but I was down to almost nothing in terms of what I own for limited. But I put in a contest for week 1, and here's my issue. I finished 500th and something, okay, out of 12,000. Yeah. And all I won was a like level 2 common. And I'm just like, all right. So I'm not a casual, so I know what's up. But for a casual who was goaded into kind of, signing up for this and playing this, for them to finish in the top 500 of 12,000 people, and you're only coming away with a not even a limited, a common tier 2 card, which mine was Stephen Kwan from the Cleveland Guardians. All right, good player, leadoff hitter for them. I'm just like, okay, I don't really care about next week's line.
Good.
I'm gonna set it, but like I don't care. I'm not even gonna look into this. Morning. Click, 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 click. As soon as I go in there,
you're not going to do any research or anything like that. Which is, I mean, is good for the people who actually do want to do the research. They'll have an advantage over you, like even somebody who's decently good at this stuff, like because you immediately don't care. But it's not good for the product.
No, and it's like it's the same thing as the F1 pool at work. And I tried to tell the guy who organized it last week. Okay? You've got 60 people in there, and only 3 people are coming away with money. No, dude, I don't want anything to do with this. Me spending my $50 or $100. And if I don't finish top 3 out of 60 something people, I don't win money. What's the point of this?
Yeah.
No, I have no interest in that. I might as well just give it to you for free. That's very low odds, right? So, and you know what, LG, you don't have to do that all season. But for me, in the first few contests of the year, first couple weeks, the rewards should be ramped up just to get kind of people invested. Like not someone like me, but someone who for the first time ever using Sorare, and they find a way to get a lineup in there that's, you know, top 500, and they get a tier 2 limited instead of a tier 2 common. There's a good chance they're either going to hit the limited market and try and complete a lineup in the limited division, or they're going to sell it and be like, you know what, this is really cool. I'm going to put even more effort into this. And with my profit, since it's even, you know, it's not that much, maybe 20, 30 bucks, but I might buy a set of limited cards now and be fully invested for the rest of the year. Yeah. But, and you don't have to do that all year, because then that'll saturate the market. There'll be too many people with limiteds. But for the first few weeks, like they did with NBA, because for NBA, it was easy to win some really cool things early. And then it just faded. They took away limiteds completely from the common contest. And it looks like baseball is being stingy on that too, because I'm not going to lie, finishing 500th out of 12,000, I should be getting something more than a common tier.
You feel good about that too, right? Like you're excited about that.
I'm looking at the reward. I'm like, is this for real? Like, whoa, they're really cheap ass on these rewards. I should be winning. I don't want money, but I should be winning something worth money, right? Even if I played for free. This is how you keep people. Because now people who played week 1 and finished even 1,500, and all they're getting is a tier 4 common, they're like, okay, well, whatever. I don't really care. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Little disappointing. The ETH rewards are great. The amount is not big, but we don't know what they're binded to in terms of what they can give out. We don't know the laws and the rules and their agreement with their license, right? So who knows, man? I'd love to see them. I love when they throw in tickets. I love when they throw in experiences to games. DraftKings does it all the time. There's top prizes that are not money.
They are doing that.
I won tickets to WrestleMania once on DraftKings, right? I didn't know it, but that was my prize. So
sorry. So I just looked up the numbers. So when I did this report in February, to where I finally got help from Sorare Tools, not Sorare Data, Sorare Tools, which is a fantastic little portfolio tracker, separate from Sorare Data. It's good for taxes, actually. They have a great tax feature. They helped me out to split out Sorare's NBA, MLB, and soccer sales, both primary and secondary, which is what everybody wondered, because you look at CryptoSlam, the other data sites, it's a blended number, right, of all of them. So they helped me split that out. And so this is from February like 18th or something like that, or 12th was the last day of numbers that I took. And the MLB product on Sorare, primary sales, so auctions, which is the money that Sorare makes, not the manager sales, secondary, was 5.5 million. Right? So they've made 5.5 million as of February on this stuff. I'd say probably another million since then, because for a lot of people, they launched uniques and auctions and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of tells you how much they made. The 1.5 million is actually 1.8. That's on secondary sales. So they take 5% of that as well. So Sorare has made tons of money already here on the MLB product. They want to make more. And I couldn't agree with you more, Phil, that basically it's like, man, just give an obscene amount of ETH rewards to start the season. Because again, and we say this every single time for every single sport, the interest in the sport peaks at the start of the season, and then again a little bit at the playoffs. That is the best thing we ever learned from Janie Parasini, the ex-GM of Top Shot, because she worked at DraftKings and Reddit, all that kind of stuff. And that's what she told us. She's like, listen, every sports league, you have the most users come in spending the most money when the season starts. Not anytime later, not mid-season, not the all-star break, none of that shit. It's mainly at the start of the season. So right now, literally right now, we're at the end of the prime time for MLB right now, right? Because it's like we're about to go into NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. The Masters is this weekend. Like there's a lot of other stuff happening in the sports world. So it's like this is the very finite,
very small window
for MLB to capture a lot of revenue. And Sorare is an extension of that. Like this is when you capture new users, and people like you, Phil, is a good example. Even people finishing 2,000th out of 12,000, even them winning like 10 bucks in ETH, where they can then just go spend it back on the marketplace. Be like, you know what? I kind of enjoyed that. It was free, but I still got 10 bucks. Yeah, I'm down. Wouldn't cost them very much in the long run out of their 5.5 million that they made last season, plus another million, or their $700 million in funding to grow North America's second largest fantasy sport. Like you are not going to compete. Right. And that's why people like you and I who are buying in the off season be like, I'm going to buy now because I want to compete and or flip. And now we're at that point where we're making that decision. Be like, do I flip these because they've gone up 100% in value, or do I keep them because they're going to be useful for me as game pieces The answer is obvious. Fucking sell them, right? Like
That's
I bought
what
a
I've been
bunch of
doing.
rares that this morning. I knew we were going to chat about this. I was looking through my rares this morning, and I bought some good stuff, and all of it has gone up twice, right? Like all of it is 2x. I've got Zach Gallen, Garrett Whitlock, Vaughn Grissom. Like I've got good players. Kevin Gosman, right? It's like I've got good players, rare, right? And it's like now they've gone, like I bought them at like $60 or $70 and they're like 150. And I'm like, I don't want to compete in this rare challenge to try and win maximum $400 a week or $5 if I finish 200th. No, thanks. I'm going to sell, take the profit, because that's honestly going to be more money for me. So they're not, to me, it's like MLB is still very, very far behind on Sorare in terms of being a polished and like developed product that's actually going to bring people in. Despite it, or sorry, the product is there. The way they're rolling it out and incentivizing new users is not. So let's say the execution's poor, but the product is good.
They should want the complete opposite of what you just said, because you're making bigger money by flipping and just saying, all right, screw it. And then that's probably money you withdraw and not reinvest in the platform, as opposed to if you won $10, like I should have won something. I'm not going to go and withdraw that $10 in ETH and be like, oh my God, I'm rich. Let me go spend that somewhere else.
No, you'll spend it.
There's nowhere else to spend it. I'm not spending $10 somewhere else. It's going right back in on, I'm going to try and pick the next, or whatever, something. But yeah,
or you'll keep playing, man. Or you go buy your favorite player, right? Because you're
let it add up.
You're still a sports fan. Go buy a couple of $2 Jays cards or something like that, right? Or
they didn't even give me $1. So you're talking $10. That sounds like a fortune compared to what I got. A common tier 2 for that kind of performance, and my lineup was not a usual lineup. I kind of used my brain here. I did a lot of study. I'm like, you know what? Week 1's going to be an unusual week. There's going to be all these randoms that nobody else is grabbing. That's what I did. I went for guys that no one else have in their lineup, and they all put up 40 points, like massive weeks. Guys no one's even heard of. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm getting something for this for sure. I had my one pitcher left for yesterday in my extra spot, and I'm like, this is amazing. I've got a starting pitcher left. I'm in the top 1,000. I have a good chance of finishing top 500. And I didn't really look at the rewards. And then I went this morning and looked, and I'm like, common tier 2. I'm like, okay, well, I already lost interest. Unless I'm now willing to spend my own money and go buy more limiteds, then I have no interest in this anymore because the rewards are terrible. Right?
And the other thing too is I think they're overestimating how many people actually want to play a free fantasy competition, which is not many. And also they don't have a cap for MLB. So it's not even like you can be strategic.
You're right. You can do whatever
you want. So the paid stuff, it's like, no, just go buy the best players at top dollar and play them. Like that's the strategy. There's no other. Yeah, maybe the obscure dude who's going to play well this week. Maybe. But at least on the NBA side through this first season, it was like, no, you need to get strategic. Like you can't just play only all-stars. Like you need to find a diamond in the rough, a guy who's been only playing like 2 minutes a night that this week is going to fill in as an injury
more so than ever right now in basketball, because we're at the stage of the year where players are sitting, guys are being tried out for next year. They're playing all sorts. Like I saw you could be Justin Champagne, right? Remember that Raptors player there with the 905 and with the Raptors? He put up 26 points last night, man. For San Antonio, and his limited they was like $1 before that, right? That's what I'm talking about. But someone bought it. You knew someone out there knew he was going to get 30 minutes of playing time, and the dude went off like he has a.
Or they could just speculate on it, right? Because then that's fun. But it's like on MLB, like there's no point in doing that. Like maybe some super random guy who's in the 8th slot is going to hit 3 home runs tonight as a fluke, like maybe. But there's no point because there's no cap. So instead of doing that, just put Ohtani and Judge and everybody else in there. Like just make that your lineup, and then the rich get richer because the people have the money to do that can actually keep winning. Versus NBA, it's like, well, there's still a cap. You still have to be smart about basketball to actually win. You can't just wing it and buy the best players, right? So it's I don't know. It's still a bit of a miss.
Man. It was I think it's a huge miss. But like you said it right. Is this early on in the season is when you're going to either keep. No one's coming mid-season being like, all right, this is cool. By mid-season, everyone's accumulated a ton of comments. They've already built their collection. It's kind of too late, right? It's not too late, but it is. Now you're still at the early stages, right? No, exactly.
You don't care about baseball.
Now, like, man, if you gave the top 2,500 some kind of prize, even if it's a freaking $1 of ETH or whatever, $5, whatever, your long-term gains would be much higher than what they're going to be now. Because I'm telling you right now, the other people in the top 1,000 are not all pros. They're not all guys who've been around forever on Sorare with football, basketball. A lot of them were the newbies who followed the links they were told to and kind of said, hey, I'll check this cool platform out. And now they're like, wait a minute, but on DraftKings, I would definitely get some money for this. If I finished in the top, even DraftKings has its flaws when it comes to that, but it is easy to, if you know what you're doing and you have a big week, you're making money, right? So yeah, I think it's a big miss, man. I really do. I think that no way should 500th place be giving me common tier 2. I don't think I'll ever get over that. I didn't even get a common tier 1, man. Tier 2. Like what? Yeah. Get out of here.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's really, it's too bad. If any, it's a miss, and it's like I don't want to be negative about it. Like I wish it was good, honestly. Like I wish this was awesome, right? And that this is a good reason to get back into baseball. But I think at this point right now, it's like for me, it's going to be a sell on a lot of this stuff. I do like they have the collections, right, where it shows you if you have all the players from the team. So I'm going to keep all my like common limited Blue Jays in case they want to give me tickets that I can then send to you because I don't live in Toronto, so you can go to a game. Right, I'll keep that. But in terms of it making me watch baseball more, or do you just be more interested? Like I've already lost interest, right? And I'm already tonight. It's like, okay, cool. I'm going to watch part of the NCAA game, and then I'm going to start thinking about playoffs for the NBA, and that's it.
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
Like that's or watch Masters this weekend if that's your thing, right? But otherwise, moving on. And actually, I want to talk NBA Sorare, and I do want to talk about Top Shot and Candy a little bit too. But while we're on Sorare, what I've noticed in Sorare, having kind of like participated in it now like 6 or 7 months, is the flow of money, right? And where it moves, because there's some huge whales on Sorare, right? If you know Clamp One, that guy buys everything. And even John Nellis, who from So Far Sorare, who's in all the ads now, who's kind of like the first minute Sorare way back, like he's a whale. And there's this clear like move of liquidity and supply around. Like this, it's like money gets kind of sloshed around to kind of like the newest thing. So a lot of money went over to Premier League in January or February when it was announced, away from NBA. Now NBA is kind of like losing interest, right? Because the cards have very little utility left. They're going to have playoff challenges, but again, a bit of a different game. So, and still like half the players that aren't going to play or going to be out, right? So you have this huge dip in the NBA in the last like 6-7 weeks. Rise in MLB because that's where you can make money right now. And then there's a lot of money kind of moving through the soccer leagues as they start and stop, right? So, but what I have noticed is when I was looking at MLB stuff, Phil, and I shared a lot of this with you too, is that MLB stuff, the best deals to get the good players that I picked up were actually not in January and February, like in the middle of the offseason. The best deals, the people who got them at the absolute best price, was from the end of September through the middle of November, because Sorare was still minting cards. And most people lost interest. Money was going to the NBA, right? Because they had announced NBA. So all the money, soccer or baseball money, was all selling stuff to get ready to buy NBA cards, right? And compete in the NBA. So and again, follow the flow of sports interest, right? It's like, when is there the least amount of interest in a league? At like kind of like not long after the season ends. Like NFL right now is probably a really good example where it's like nobody cares about the NFL right now. Right, draft comes up soon, right? But it's like
ESPN,
ESPN, of course, NFL is the biggest. NFL is the biggest thing, right? So maybe not the best example, but you want to talk about like, so what I've been looking at now is how much money is in the NBA part of Sorare, and I've been tracking using Sorare data actually, which is really really useful for this because you can make a little wish list. I've been tracking certain players that I think have a lot of future potential, especially their rares, to try and pick them up, either to play for next season or honestly as like just good speculation, right? Because I think that right now you've seen a dip in these players, and especially think somebody like LaMelo Ball, who is often injured, is on a shit team, but is still what, 21? How old is LaMelo? Like 22? Yes. Something like that. Like he still has an insane amount of potential and is also a really popular player. So someone like that, his rare cards lost like 50% of its value in the last 2 months. Crazy. And that to me is like kind of this kind of stuff I'm targeting right now and just kind of watching every day, because I think between now and like the middle of July is when there's going to be some really good opportunities on the NBA side, because most of the cards have no utility. The season is going to close out. The liquidity has gone elsewhere. And especially if Sorare doesn't do ETH rewards for NBA in the playoffs, maybe they'll do it for next season. Maybe they'll never do it. I don't know. But if even the hint that might come, I think is enough for these to pump back up once the season starts. Right. So that's kind of like what I've been eyeing. And Phil, I'd love your advice on like who else I should kind of watch for in terms of like good players that are not going to be overpriced right now. Because like the Lukas and the Giannis and the Jokic, like those barely move in price. You know what I mean? Like people aren't selling those for low, and most of them are going to the playoffs. Luka maybe not, but the other two are going to go deep in the playoffs ideally. So it makes sense for them to not have kind of lost in value. But I'm talking like other like less big star guys, but who could be the all-stars and the MVPs of the future.
Are we talking about? Oh, you're talking about the future.
Well, I'm thinking like who are people going to want to buy at the start of next season is kind of what I'm thinking about.
Well, I mean, it's hard because, the best example of kind of false sort of hope or not false promotion on a guy is like a Cam Thomas. Okay. You remember Cam Thomas for the Nets for that span of like a week there after KD and Kyrie were shipped out of town. And I can't stand either one of them.
Oh, yeah. And he had like 40 points a game for like a week or something.
Oh, dude. Like they were like, oh my God, this is like a secret player nobody knew about. And he's scoring 40 a night. And now he's back to scoring like 5 a night. Right.
Yeah.
So it's weird. Right. You're like, well, how did that happen? I bet you a lot of people overpaid for his card back then because they're like, oh man, he's going to do this all year now that the Nets have nobody. But then on comes Bridges. Right. And Bridges is just like, man, that guy's turned into an animal. That guy is like a guy you're like, hold on a second here. First of all, his brother, I think, is still in jail for that crazy domestic violence case. But Bridges has now been averaging 30-something points a game for like weeks. This is not a Cam Thomas moment. And he's just like, man, I've always been this player. I just haven't had a chance to show it.
And didn't have the chance
when I was playing with, with Booker and guys like
Booker
that.
And stuff. Yeah.
Ayton and now KD, obviously, but he didn't play with KD. And then you've got look at the Blazers. Look what happens with the Blazers once they lose their top scorers. Is you've got a player like Shaedon Sharpe, the Canadian, who is now averaging 30 points a game, and he's actually been tremendous all year in terms of the way his slam dunks. He's made headlines.
Yeah, he's been a highlight reel,
but he's been like a 9-point per game type of guy that really doesn't do anything. But now the secret's out on him, and if you're looking for fantasy, he's obviously going to be overpriced now. Because everyone's all over this guy scoring 30 a game. Same with Bridges. I'm sure he's overpriced.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell because I think you have a good point when you think of the injured guys, the guys that nobody's thinking about right now. And there's a long list of players that have been out for a while and that are injured. Bradley Beal is tough because Bradley Beal is, the name in the NBA more than any other sport, the name carries players in terms of,
I'm looking for like a mix of like youth and hype. That it's like I'm thinking like at the start of next season when the ESPNs of the world are making like, hey, here's our all-star list. Here are the dark horse potential all-stars this year that people are going to be like, that is a player of the future kind of thing, but who had a great couple first seasons. So I'll tell you like who's on my list. You tell me if it's good or bad. And these are guys that I've been kind of watching their prices. So Shai Gilgeous is a good example of like, he's been fantastic in top 10 in the MVP like polls, and ladders, but nowhere near the top 5, but in the top 10. And his floor price of, and I'm talking specifically rare cards here on Sorare, because I believe that rare cards have the right amount of scarcity. Common cards or limited cards, there's 1,000 of each one, so I don't care. It's way too much. And the common cards you can't trade. So the rare cards where they're minted to like 200 or so, that to me is the sweet spot. And the super rare ones are too expensive. So Shai, his floor price has gone from like 530 in January to now like just like 300, right? So that to me is like, okay, like he lost almost 50% of it, but that's a guy who is like a high efficiency, massive score, should be even better next year. His surrounding cast should be even better next year. Thunder could easily be competing for a top 6 slot next year in the West, right? So that to me is like a guy that it's like a lot of people at the start of next season are going to want to invest in their Sorare lineup, right? And I'm talking guys who like would regularly have the big game weeks on Sorare as well, right? Because that's kind of the key to winning Sorare is you want to have the small guys that you plug in, but you also like when you pick your 1 star for your week, you want it to be the guy who's going to go out and have the biggest game of the week, right? So I had Shai Gilgeous. I had Halliburton.
Halliburton. That was my next. That was what I was going to say. Tyrese for sure.
But a lot of people are into Tyrese. So his floor price, and again from January to today, so in this quarter, in the first quarter of the year, has gone from like 420 to maybe like 310. So not as big of a drop. But yeah, he's been kind of steady down there. Anthony Edwards is another one I was looking at, although the Timberwolves to me are always kind of like a tricky team vibe-wise, so you never really know where they're going to finish. And he's been holding kind of steady. He started the year around like maybe 350, 360, and now he's where's he at right now? He's 268, so not too crazy. Zion's on the list, but that's a huge wild card. He's always injured, so I don't know. And he has such a big name.
He'll have a career in the NBA, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I saw he was on the list just because I wanted to watch, but he's been kind of flatlined for a while. Although it's like the Zion rare card still goes for $200, which is more than LaMelo, Cade, Paolo, and a bunch of other guys I have on the
Unbelievable
list, right?
how long that's been going on with Zion.
I think it's just like a marketable name, right? I think they really want him to be a star, and I think it's honestly because he has a cool name and because he's kind of a freak when he's good, when he's not injured. But yeah, too bad for him. LaMelo is one that I've been really, really interested in. So he started the year like just over $500, and right now his floor price is $189.
Wow.
Right. So that's a huge cut on the price of his rare. Again, someone who gets injured a lot on a pretty bad team. So questionable, but also somebody who still has a lot of potential in the NBA, right? At least in my eyes. So,
Agreed.
So somebody could be there. Cade is on the list, but he hasn't dipped in price at all. Paolo is somebody who's dipped a lot, right? Probably rookie of the year. Start of the year.
His numbers haven't been the same. Yeah.
No, haven't been the same. Start of the year, and he's not going to play in the playoffs. So his utility is dipped, right? Like you're not going to be using him in 2 weeks. So Paolo went from 400 to start the year, and now he's going, the floor is 150. So that's a huge dip. That's more than 50%.
Wow.
That's like 75%.
Because of the playoffs, like you said, I would assume, right?
Yeah, there's no playoffs. I had Tyrese Maxey on the list. What do you think of Tyrese Maxey?
I think Tyrese Maxey is only good against the Raptors in the playoffs. Because I remember that series last
I think that's the bias that I have too, right?
Like honestly, every time I've watched this year, I'm like, hold on. Where's that guy we saw last year that was destroying the Raptors?
Us, man.
I'm like, yo, this guy's the next superstar in the league the way he's playing. Like, this doesn't make sense. He was scoring 30 a night against the Raptors. And then I watch him play now, and it's like he's a role player. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
What am I missing here? Like, what happened to this team? I mean,
it's very strange.
Like, what's the deal? Like, what?
To me, well, yeah, and that's mainly where I've seen those flashes. But I think again, I'm not looking for guys who I think are like dark horse candidates in the future. I'm looking for guys that I'm going to want to play next year, and or that the market is going to want at the start of the season. So that's I'm value hunting really. Maxey. So I had Jalen Green, but he's super cheap. Same with Anthony Simons. They both started the year like in the 70 or 80. Yeah, exactly. But they barely.
They're not going to play in the playoffs. I mean, right?
Yeah, they're not going to play in the playoffs. Yeah, but they're not. They started the year. They haven't dipped that much. They're at $52 and $46. Jalen Green's at the 52, and Simon's the 46. I added Bridges and Sharp. So Bridges, let me just take a few more of these off because
what's he at? That's a good question.
My chart. So let's see. Who do you want? Bridges. So Bridges started the year around $100, and now he's popped back up. So now he's 90. So he has not dipped that much. And Sharp, same thing. Started around 100, dipped quite a lot through March, but now he's about $62.
They're the hot thing right now, so I'm not surprised by that. But they're gonna dip more after. Trust me.
Well, that's it. That's it. And I'm not saying I'm gonna buy a lot of these right now. I'm thinking I'm gonna buy them like in freaking at the end of June, when like literally no one cares about the NBA. Like, sure, there's free agency and that'll shake things up, but you're really not, like, people aren't really thinking about some of these guys that are going to be signed to their teams for a long time, right? So yeah, I mean, you could see like I would say that someone like a Banchero, like what are the Magic's odds in the lottery right now? They're pretty high, probably pretty high at this point, right?
No,
pretty bad.
No, it'll be Houston,
oh no, they're better than they thought. Yeah,
Houston, San Antonio, and who's the third one? That's at the very Detroit. Detroit has the
Detroit.
All three will have equal chance, which is 14%,
right,
to get the number one pick.
Yeah.
So like Detroit is fucking awful, man. Like honestly, Dwayne Casey sucks, and so does that team. But like I don't think they understand. So the other two teams get it. San Antonio and Houston get it, that they can still win games and still have the same odds as the worst team. But Detroit doesn't get that. They think that they have to have the worst record to do it, I think, because they're horrendous and it shows.
Yeah, they do not understand that.
No, they don't get it, man. I watch them play sometimes. I don't know why, but yeah, they just don't get it. They're terrible. The other two get it. They win sometimes. But yeah. What about DeMar DeRozan? What's the deal with him?
Let's take a look. You want to see his numbers? Like what his
Not
so
as,
rare?
Yeah.
Or you just want to talk about DeMar because we're gonna face DeMar in the play-in game. You realize that, right?
I don't want to talk about DeMar. Yeah.
You don't want to talk about DeMar at all.
No, I want to know what the value of his card is.
So let's see. He's gone from, for his rare cards, looks like he was going for about 169 to start the year. And now the latest sale is 55. So he's lost 66% of his value in that time.
Okay. Yeah, well, he's still a volume guy in terms of, but the Bulls are, man.
I don't
know what to say about the Bulls, man. Every time I look at the Bulls, they're either getting killed by a terrible team or they're winning random games or they're blowing like 30-point leads. It's hard to tell. I mean, DeMar's getting up there in age too. Don't forget, right?
He'll be 34 to start next season. So crazy. I don't know if that's like,
Mm-hmm.
as much as he could still be a volume guy for another couple years, it's like at the same time, it's like, what team takes him on? Right? Like unless you're somebody really needs a second scoring option behind whoever their star is, like somebody could just put up volume, but it's like he hasn't been that successful in terms of just being on good teams. Like making teams good hasn't really worked, right?
But you're right. Yeah,
the Bulls experiment worked for like a couple months and then that was it. So
he'll score the Raptors. We both know it.
Yes.
Is it playing the play?
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll score his only buzzer beater that matters ever against the Raptors, and then be total trash in the next game.
That'll be his first game-winning shot.
The Hawks or whoever. Yeah, he'll get, and then Trey will destroy him in the next play-in game after they lose to who's the sixth place team right now, or who's the seventh place team? Who are we playing? Who's in that play-in?
The
Heat. Yeah, because the Hawks will lose to the Heat in their first play-in game, so the Heat will move on. And then the Raptors lose to the Bulls, and it'll be Hawks versus Bulls, and the Hawks will go in. So, anyways.
Wow, predictions. Nice.
Yeah, predictions. Okay. Is there anything? Okay, a couple other things I want to chat about really quick because we're the 1 hour 45-minute mark. It's not that bad.
We're okay.
Yeah, we're still alive. Last year, listen, last week was 2.5 hours, so we still technically have 45 minutes until we break a record. I do want to talk about baseball again really quick. Candy selling out drops, which is really good. Candy was kind of dead for most of last year, right? Because they started the season hot. They dropped stuff at the end of 2021, which those packs were worth like an insane amount on secondary because it's baseball cards. Should be worth a lot. But last year in May, they had to halt their supply drops because it was too much, right? And since then, it's been kind of just super low key, not a lot of users. But I will say they're off to a good start. This is prime time for baseball, but they sold out their drop last week, only 2,000 packs. They sold out both drops today with their plays of the week, 800 packs, and their Anthony Volpe only 100. I love the idea of minting a player's first moment or card ever as just a mint of 100 for $50. I think that's fucking genius. I don't know. I don't know if it has the same collectible like aesthetic as like a Top Shot of like, hey, it's the rookie premiere. It's got the triple badge, all that kind of stuff. But you think about it, they're literally minting a legendary mint of like a new player's first hit or home run or whatever that is. So I do love that concept. One thing I do want to point out, though, and this has nothing to do with Candy or MLB So Rare, is did you hear about the opening day badges that they're making, that like Topps or whoever is making? Do you hear about this?
No,
I saw it on the Collectible Gurus thing. So what they're doing is this is actually Fanatics that's doing this. They're working with the MLB to include a rookie debut patch on every rookie's jersey. And when they make their MLB debut, the patch will be removed from their jersey and used in a one-of-a-kind rookie card of that player. That is awesome. That's super fucking cool, man. That is super cool.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter. So that is really, really cool to see. The card world or Fanatics, which is, trying to become a $100 billion company. That's really cool to see them innovate like that. Right. There's no Web3 aspect there. We don't have to Web3ify everything that exists, but that to me is like, in terms of like starting baseball collectible stuff, like that is super, super, super cool.
I like
Phil,
it.
Are you buying any candy stuff? You've been into the candy stuff? You lining up?
Not this year. I was last year, and I bought almost every single one of the plays of the day, but I've had zero interest in that so far this year. But I will say, because my collecting strategy has changed now. I wanted to collect everything before all the cool moments from everybody, Miguel Cabrera's big hit and all that stuff. But now I'm more focused on like the Jays players. So when there'll be a drop for a Jays player as play of the week or play of whatever special drop, I'll be going for it. Until then, I'm not going for it. And I still, for me, LG, I talked about this last week. Until they improve their marketplace, man, it just makes me lose my mind. I don't know what I have. Like, I don't even have a checklist, man. Like, I want to collect all the Jays commons, but I don't want to go through my whole collection, and I don't even know which players I'm missing. Like I literally have to open 2 browsers, right?
Yeah.
Like, pick all the filters for Jay's comments, and then one by one in the second browser, pull up my collection and flip back and forth between browsers to see if I have, like, you can do a search by name and it'll show you if you have that player. But dude, that's a lot of work. I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But even something as simple as the little one sign, like they have on Top Shot, that you own this moment already.
Yeah.
Like that goes a long way, because then I could just filter Jay's moments and see what I own and see what I don't own, and then just buy right away off of that. But when I have to do that much research, I'm like, man, what the hell, dude?
I really think that there's a huge missing opportunity for every single one of these platforms to make it look like a fucking binder.
Yep.
Like, I don't understand. Like, that is the most, like, if I saw my Top Shot moments and my candy moments in a binder, and then there's like a missing spot for one of them, I would immediately go buy it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's like, you want to tap into like how we all grew up, and like, and sure, you don't want to go back to like before Web3, whatever. It's like, show it to me like that. Like Sorare did that. Sorare's not even a freaking collectible platform, but you can click on every team and see which ones you have. And there's empty slots for the guys you don't have. And that for the Blue Jays and for the Raptors, immediately I went and bought every single one. I was like, some of them on the Raptors, like, I don't even know who this is. Like, I didn't even know who the guy was. Same with the Blue Jays. Like, I don't even know who this guy is.
Team Canada guys from the World Cup. I did that on Sorare. But do you want to know who else has an actual binder? You're gonna love this. Do you know who else in the NFT space?
Or my
has,
or no.
No. In the NFT space, do you know who else? Which other platform has a binder? Record Shop. Have you ever seen that thing? But it's literally what you just described, where it's like the old
they did a good job of that. Yeah, right.
With slots, and it shows you the missing slots of kind of what you're missing, right? And what you have, and it shows you multiple. And if Record Shop can get it right to show you when you have multiples of something, I don't understand why Candy can't do it. It drives me bonkers, man. Like, I don't even know what's out there unless I do a crazy search. And what's even wilder is that, like, if you go to like page 4 of your search and then you change the parameters, it doesn't send you back to page 1 of your new search. It sends you to page 4 of your new search.
You're still on page 4.
This, like,
the UX is so bad.
Since the very beginning. It's like, come on,
Meg. I know you listen. I know Meg Mers is listening. So listen, Meg. We just need a better display. Okay, you can hire Phil. Hire Phil to run a focus group about making Candy look better, and that when you log in, you should be greeted by a giant binder looking thing that shows you what you don't have and how much it costs. That would make people buy things. Okay, you want to drive people to buying things, just show them the big freaking empty patch of what they don't have and make it easy for them to see what they have and don't have.
It's like Top Shot, right? The challenges. You click on a challenge and you go on create entry, and it'll show you what you have and you don't have. And what I like even more is that there's a link to go buy what you're missing. That doesn't just send you to the marketplace. It actually loads up the filter of the moments you need to complete the challenge. Really, really cool and really good user experience to have that option. Not that I do it too often, but for me, that's what I'm looking for.
But that makes it, but that I think that actually what you just said is the most important part. You're not doing every single challenge. The average user of these platforms is not doing every single challenge. Okay. We're not Alexa or Veerman or something like that. We're not doing every single one. The average user is doing an occasional challenge. And I do find that when Top Shot sends me an email saying, hey, you have moments for this challenge, I'm like, oh shit, do I? And I click and I go to it. And I'm like, what do I have? How much do I need to complete it? Because maybe if it's like 10 or 15 bucks, I'll probably pay that to do this challenge, burn a couple moments, lock them or whatever. And that is super, super, super helpful because you're just a casual user. You're an average user. Doesn't do every challenge. You do them sometimes. And I think that really easy, like, but if I have to come back to the platform and then I have to like manually search if I have the right ones, that's a huge fucking pain. So that's, you know what platform that's the worst for, Phil? You know what the worst platform is for that? UFC Strike. UFC.
Oh, I know. No, I know.
Oh my God.
I'm not on that platform, but I know.
It doesn't. It says like, here's what you need, and then there's no way to even see if you have those moments. There's nowhere to like submit. You just go and you hold the moments, or you go to the burn page and have to look through your entire collection to find them. Like, it's been the same for a year. Like, come on, man. I want to do all these strike challenges, but every time they come up, I'm like, no, I don't give a shit. Like, I do not care because it's too complicated to look through them. It's so annoying.
I truly believe that's why Top Shot is still relevant. They've got such a good platform in terms of I know there's been issues, I know there's been scandals and disasters, but they still have such a good
the site is fantastic. The site is amazing.
Right? And just the fact of like, listen, I'm trying to collect all the Spotlight series moments. I don't have time to go to my collection. I don't have time to go look at which ones I have. I don't even remember which ones I have. But when I search the Spotlight Series moments, it tells me if I already have this moment. And I know not to even look at it. So I'll scroll up and down the list just looking for the ones without that little square at the top there that says one. And I'll have a good user experience. But Candy, I've gone on there a couple times this year. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to buy stuff. But then I go through 5 minutes of kind of trying to get through my collection, the market. But I shouldn't have to print checklists. I shouldn't have to, do screenshots of what I have and print them out and keep this on me at all times. So I do 2-3 minutes. I've gone about 20 times this year on Candy in the last few weeks, and I buy nothing because I'm just like, you know what? I don't even want to deal with this. I'm just like, no, make it easier.
No,
please make
it's
it
ridiculous.
easier.
It's ridiculous.
It's time now. It's time. You guys are growing. You guys are going with Netflix and Getty's and MLB and WWE, and you're expanding. NASCAR's even ramped up. Like when I was into NASCAR and owned every single NASCAR NFT with Candy.
Yeah.
There was fuck all going on. Seriously, nothing happened the whole time, and I sold all of them. And now all of a sudden, I'm seeing something every week for NASCAR. So obviously, where you're ramping up, but your user experience is not. So you're not going to grow like that. You're just not. Right? Like for me, it's wild. It's so wild that we're still stuck in this. I don't know, man. Crazy.
Or they need to I don't know, just give a third party some money to go build
100%.
that. You know what I mean? Because even Top Shot, they finally got around to it. But in the early days, OTM and stuff was super helpful to see. And even now, I still go to OTM to be like, okay, how much is it to complete this set on All Day or Top Shot, or those are the only two? You know what I mean? So I think that's they either need to fund that for other people, get somebody else to build it, or do it themselves, because it's such a pain the way it is now. I'd love to collect more on Candy, but I agree with you. It's painful. And same with Strike. You really are collecting every Spotlight Series moment. Hey, holy.
I'm getting there. Not really, but I'm getting. Hey, they're cheap, man. I mean, to be honest, it's accessible. It is, right? Like $2. I mean, what's the most you pay for the ones? Well, what I do is when I get a reward for the challenge, I only collect good serial numbers that are within if it's a 5,000 mint, I'll collect something under 1,000. So if my reward, which is always a shitty serial number, I'll just sell it, and then I don't need to rebuy it right away. I'll wait till there's a big dip, and then I'll buy a serial number I want. Right. So did you see I know you've talked about Spotlight many times. How do you feel about the other 77 Spotlight moments still to come out on Top Shot? Well, I mean, we mention this every time. So what are they going to do? They're going to sprinkle them around in whatever drop is next, and then they're going to do a mass release probably with the playoff packs or something like that.
Still,
right?
I think John Boy had a post about it the other day about just how much supply there's still to come out for this series on Top Shot, where it's they should be at a point now where there's no more supply coming out. It should be there's going to be a few playoff moments. You're going to be learning things for playoffs. That's it. There should be literally nothing else. The interest in the
or
NBA
special moments
only in the freaking playoff stuff. And I'm excited for their playoff stuff. I think they've hinted at a few different, I don't know, interesting things. So I don't know. I think that's going to be cool. But today they were here's the Top Shot 50. There's going to be a legendary drop. And it's no. That's no, we don't know. We're way past that. Literally, we're the only thing basketball fans care about at this point. And sorry to speak for you if you're a basketball fan, is okay, will the Mavericks miss the play-in game? Because that's hilarious. And otherwise, start the playoffs. That's it. That's the only two things that are actually interesting at this point. And okay, sure, Embiid and Jokic, who's going to win the MVP? That eternal debate. But it's otherwise, it's no, we don't want freaking more Spotlight moments, Top Shot 50, all these other sets that have yet to come out. Nobody, we don't need those. Just don't release them. Just don't release them.
The mistake I made was the sets I'm collecting. I'm collecting one set from every season. That's how I'm starting. Collecting the cool cats from season 2, or series 2. Collecting the Rising Stars commons from series 3, which is easy, accessible, and only 300 people have completed it. It's pretty cool. Good players, right? They hold value in challenges and stuff because a lot of those players are in there. And then I picked Spotlight without doing my homework because my guidelines for collecting a set were cheap, accessible, and not minted over 30 to 50 moments in the set.
Right.
So at the time, there was 40 Spotlight moments. I'm like, yes, this is perfect. Very cool. They're all really good players. So I'm like, this is cool, man. And then someone like broke the news to me that there's going to be 150 of them. And if I had known that, I would have never started collecting this set. I would have went for something else. So, but I'm in now. So what am I going to do?
They should just cut it off. They shouldn't make any more.
They should. Who's going to say anything? Nobody.
They shouldn't do it. They should end it at 77. That's
they really should.
Seriously, they should just stop it there. It's ridiculous.
They don't need more from each team. We just don't.
No.
We don't care. No one's going to cry about it.
And it won't even be that much revenue for them to do it anyways, because selling Spotlight packs or whatever, it's you're not going to, because these are worth so little that it's like that's not going to be worth that much to even just sell those, right? So it's like I don't think there's really any point in that. Sell your legendaries. This you're going to make a lot of money. People are going to pay $900 for the pack or whatever it is. Like, go ahead and do that. But otherwise, I don't really see the point in doing that. But I will commend Top Shot. I do like the predictive challenges they've been doing. I think that's been fun. I think that's like a
should be way more of them. Yep.
Obviously, well, they can't go too much into fantasy, right? So it's a little bit limited, but I do like the predictive. I think it's fun to like, okay, pick one of the 80 players playing tonight, which one's got the most 3-pointers and stuff. I do like that. So I will say that right now, I think Top Shot's engagement and their community building and all the little things they're doing, like I think all that stuff is really good. I honestly think that supply is still the killer. And we're talking about Top Shot all the fucking time, and we're going to keep talking about it. But it's like in that mailbag on Friday, whenever it was, like I sent it to you, like they're going to release the rest of the spotlight moments. Like there's not a single person who wants that. Like, why are you so married to releasing all these fucking moments and sets and all this shit? Like it's so insane to me to continue to do that when you're doing so many other good things. And it's so clear that that's the problem. Like that is so clear the problem. Like community vibes seem decent. Like people like the challenges. People like the moments, right? Like you've got the captains, all that kind of stuff. The product is getting more polished, and you're starting to hit some really high notes this season, right? Like releasing the LeBron packs right after he won, or right after he broke the record. Like that kind of stuff works. The supply is still so clearly the problem, and yet they keep releasing so much supply. And I don't understand it. It makes no freaking sense. It's like supply that nobody wants. Like nobody needs these things, right? And it's like they still keep making money. You'll find other ways to make money. You'll sell people will buy playoff packs. Of course they will. People want to see their guys in the playoffs, right? That makes tons of sense. The finals, you'll make tons of money at the finals because that's a classic set. You release your legendary as usual, all that kind of stuff. We don't need more spotlight moments. We don't need any of the other common sets that are like video game numbers and all that kind of crap. Like nobody needs any of that. It's so excessive for like a couple thousand users. Like it's crazy. Right. So I don't know. I just don't understand I don't understand how they're coming to these decisions to continue to release supply when the market is oversaturated with it. And like most of these spotlight moments are $2.
LG, let me ask you this.
$3.
Who's in charge of Top Shot?
Well, I mean, you know what? Maybe we can actually end the show there because this week's hot take is which fictional character would make the best GM?
That was not planned, by the way.
I know it wasn't planned, but I think you queued it up very well. And there's a couple other things maybe we could watch. There's a couple funny videos we'll watch after that because there's a couple things I did want to show. But we're at the light part of the show. Hot take of the week. This week's question that was posted this morning is which fictional character would make the best GM of Top Shot? Right, general manager. They've been through like 2 or 3 of them at this point. I don't think they're going to have a general manager going forward, right? And that was the question we asked. We got a lot of really, really fantastic answers. A lot of them were actually gifts. A lot of people posted gifts, recommending different kind of strange people. Phil, without even looking at the answers, because I'm going to read them to you, and you don't know. I'm not going to tell you who's saying them. Do you have a fictional character you would choose as the GM of Top Shot? Do you have like one right off the bat? Someone that came to mind?
That's tough. No, I don't.
You don't have
I can't just give a random answer to give an answer. I'd have to think about that one.
How about Yasmin Bleef's character from Baywatch?
That is fictional. What about something like crazy? Like
Manny Tanner.
You knew I was going to go there. That's where my mind was going. It wasn't Manny. I was going to Danny, but no. What the hell?
Oh yeah, sorry, Danny Tanner. Yeah, Manny's the evil twin. Yeah,
I guess
Danny Tanner.
Was the Full House family like? Were they fans of the Golden State Warriors? Is that what it would have been? They were in San Fran, right?
I think so. Yeah, but I think it was like I don't think the Warriors were like a talking piece then. I think SF was like the Niners and the Giants.
The teams,
right?
I
think
you're right.
That's
Niners
like Warriors were incredibly irrelevant in that town until like the last 10 years. Like that nobody ever cared. Okay. So these are really short answers. They're not as funny as they usually are.
No, but I'm excited for this because I want to see who's got the best one for sure. This is
okay. Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso.
I can't stand that guy. That show for me, I feel like the only person, I don't want to go crazy about every answer, but I feel like the only person who, I'm a massive sports fan. I watched 2 episodes. I'm like, what the hell is this? I didn't even want to watch this. Bye. Right? Like it was weird. It didn't capture me. So no, I'm not a fan of that guy. Okay.
Great fit, like former GM who doesn't like to work, and it's a gif of George Costanza. And it's the gif of where he's saying, "Was that wrong?" Which is when his boss finds out he's been sleeping with the cleaning lady.
Yeah, that's the last thing we need actually with what, especially the Roham videos.
Next one.
Yeah,
Jackie Moon, without a doubt, he's not afraid to do what it takes to succeed. And Jackie Moon is Will Ferrell's character from the what's it called? The basketball movie he made.
Oh my god!
We're on a 2-hour-long podcast, folks. Like what NBA movie? Semi-Pro. The name of the movie was Semi-Pro.
Was it
the Will Ferrell basketball movie?
That's weird. Okay.
Anyways, Wolverine for this simple reason, and it's Hugh Jackman as Wolverine saying, "I'm Canadian." These are weird this week. They're weird.
Okay.
Joey looks like Roham, but asks employees how they doing, and it's Joey from Friends saying, "How you doing?"
I thought it was gonna be Joey from Full House. Come on. I mean, people don't know me by now. Like, come on, man. You know my love for Full House. Okay.
Mickey Mouse. That guy can sell anything. No GIF.
No, because I'm boycotting Mickey. Well, actually, speaking of, we had Mickey Mouse on the show last week when Hasbulla kicked his ass. Apparently,
that's right. Yeah, we did.
But Hasbulla actually got canceled again this week. Did you see that? LG?
Oh, he did. No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he slapped his cat. He was slapping his cat around. Now he's canceled again, apparently. But then he's on all the videos again, like a day later. But he was fully canceled this week because he was slapping his cat around.
Oh, poor cat.
Well, people are saying they're the same size, and he's been told to pick on people his own size, so he went after his cat, apparently.
Okay, last one. Thanos. He knows the importance of cutting supply, and it's Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet wrapping his hand like that.
Why does he know the importance of cutting supply?
Do you want me to keep going? I can pick some more if you don't like any of these.
Keep going, man. Keep going. I need someone to blow me away here.
Okay, Gandalf. There's Gandalf. None of them are going to blow you away. This is
no one's giving a reason whatsoever. I'll pick one, but nobody's giving a reason.
Okay, somebody wrote, "This is a woman's job," and it's Glenn. Or no, not Glenn Close. What's her name? The girl. She's in Devil Wears Prada. Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada. Magneto. He has all the traits to make a good GM. He's authoritative, he's inspirational, aggressive, inclusive, and charismatic. Magneto from X-Men.
Okay.
Pinky and the Brain, obviously. Phil hates all these. Let's Go, and it's just Michael Scott from The Office pointing at the camera. The dwarf from Game of Thrones. What's the name of the villain in Back to the Future? What's the guy's name?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about?
No? Buff something? Biffy?
Yeah, whatever. It's him, but
is that Tommy Wilson's dad?
Yes, Tommy Wilson's dad.
Biff.
It is Tommy Wilson's dad. Biff. So old Biff in the future finding the sports almanac.
That's right.
That's one of them. Tony Stark is the slam dunk answer for me. Genius, eccentric, multi-billionaire who has the vision to lead this company to the promised land. Everything that man touched was a game changer.
Okay. I've got one in mind, but you can keep going.
Dwight Schrute, assistant GM to the GM for years before being GM, and it's Dwight Schrute with a pig nose on. Okay, do you have one you like? I don't want to keep going.
I do, and it wasn't even part of your first selection. This might surprise you a little bit, but
okay.
In my time, I mean, I love powerful characters, but it doesn't make them good leaders.
Yeah.
No, it's very short, actually. But in my time growing up and watching movies, I feel that every single movie Meryl Streep was in, she was like a powerful person. Like she felt like she had control. And she's actually won Actress of the Year. Like
Meryl Streep.
Right? She's won Actress of the Year how many times? Or is that what they call it? Actress of the Year?
I don't know.
Is it Actress of the Year? Or no, Best Actress. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not. It's actor. You don't say actress anymore. It's one.
Sorry.
Actor is the term. It's not feminine or male or female.
I'm sorry. Just like I got destroyed for saying female ballers once. Like what?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I got destroyed for that, and then I keep hearing it like on Sports Center. They say the word female all the time. So I don't know why I got destroyed for that. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go kind of off the hook here. I'm going Meryl Streep, man. I think I do agree with a woman. I'm serious. I do like that concept. And I did like it when Janie came along because I thought it was going to change things a little bit. But that was a whole other story, right? She lost it halfway. But Meryl Streep for me has always been a powerful character in every single movie or show I've seen her in. And I would trust someone like that to kind of, maybe that's a fatal mistake, but more so than the ones, George Costanza, like, come on, man. Where are we going with George Costanza here? Seriously, and there were other good choices, but they just didn't give a reason why. Like Thor, because he likes to cut supply. Like, why does he? I don't know anything about Thor, but why does he like
Thanos?
Thanos. Why does
Thor,
Thanos?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, Thanos. Why does he like to cut supply? Like what?
Well, because when he snaps his fingers, half the universe died. That's what happened in the movie.
Okay.
Anyways,
Well,
you clearly don't care. You didn't go with your daughter to see that one in the theaters, eh?
No, absolutely not. So,
well, okay, so let's.
Man. And I have no idea.
Well, let's get her out here. Here's Meryl Streep. Let's take a look. Okay, so this was from AJ Biondo 77.
Okay,
follows us. We follow them. So cool. AJ, great work.
Mm-hmm.
She's into
diehard.
I like Bizarre Stars.
That,
yeah,
but...
there we go. Yeah, let's see. Wife, twin mom, newsy, foodie, diehard Pats fan, NFL all day, OTM, Jolly Jokers, turf talent, and Bizarre Stars.
Cool. Congratulations. Well done.
AJ has won as a woman's job.
Look at her. But look at
the
Meryl
GIF
Streep.
is
she looks like
your incompetence do not interest me is the GIF.
But she looks like she's just got command. And I've always seen Meryl Streep as that, right? So
do you remember I was thinking about this today, which is very weird. I was thinking about this morning. I was thinking about this in the shower, I'll be honest with you. I don't know why, but I was thinking about Kevin Bacon. And not like that. I know it sounds like that. But I wasn't thinking about Kevin Bacon like that. But I was thinking about Kevin Bacon and how when I saw Apollo 13 in theaters, I thought that Kevin Bacon was a villain because I had just seen The River Wild, which is also a movie of Kevin Bacon and Meryl Streep, where Meryl Streep is like a world champion whitewater rafter. And she gets taken hostage with her kid by Kevin Bacon and John C. Reilly, like the funny guy, John C. Reilly, who are like these villains, like they're criminals. And they're like, you have to take us downriver so we can escape the law. And it's this like super tense, scary thing. I don't know why I saw that when I was like 8 years old. It came out at 93, I think, 94, something like that. And anyway, so then 2 years later, I saw Apollo 13. I was like, oh my God, Kevin Bacon, like he's a villain. He's going to fuck up Apollo 13. And it wasn't until like years later that I realized that River Wild was literally one of the only movies that Kevin Bacon ever played a villain. So anyways, funny that Meryl Streep comes back around today.
How's that even possible? But even then, Kevin Bacon sort of was a villain in Apollo 13. He was kind of like the bad boy of the crew, wasn't he? From what I remember.
No, he gets added as the third astronaut because they originally had
right.
Okay. Gary Sinise is supposed to be on the mission, but he's going to get measles, so they add Kevin.
But he was
Bacon.
like the bad boy, like with the girlfriend and all that, like the like he wasn't a guy who was married with kids and all that. But yeah, no, you're right. Yeah,
I don't know if
I'm happy that our audience kind of heard that you were in the shower this morning and thinking about Kevin Bacon and Meryl Streep. So
I think about some weird shit, man. And I guess for some reason,
maybe you should do a live podcast in the shower.
Yeah. Maybe next week I'll be in the shower for 2.5 hours.
Maybe we'll put that on Patreon. Do Set Brothers live from the shower.
Okay, I got two quick hits to wrap us out, and these are both on video. So apologies to the people on audio. One is a video of Roham. The other one we're going to play us out is a video of our friend Arsenic, also an NFT artist, scoring an incredible backhander at hockey. Phil, did you see this super random video of Roham who has been spotted shopping with his girlfriend? Did you see this?
I can't tell you how many people sent it to me.
Everybody sent it to you. It's not a big deal. Like it's honestly like a nothing video, but I just thought it was funny that this got posted on Twitter from somebody who said that they were randomly scrolling through TikTok, and it's like Roham with his girlfriend, and they look like, I'm gonna guess that they are at what's the name of the store?
Zara?
They just announced they're leaving Canada. No, the big store.
Nordstrom's, yes.
Nordstrom's. They look like
they are at Nordstrom's. Yes. Yeah. They're at Nordstrom's, like, because they have a super sale right now.
And it's a really creepy video because the guy filming like comes up to them like he's gonna pick up Roham's girlfriend. There's like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were there. He's like, your girlfriend's pretty, and Roham is like this, like you can tell Roham is like, fuck off, like he's so mad about it. Like he's so like, she's real beautiful. So weird.
I just have to throw it out there. Yeah. She does look like she could have maybe 2 or 3 boyfriends, but are y'all like a thing or?
Roham's like, I'm gonna murder you laugh. Honestly, I think it's fantastic. Yeah, it's like,
but you know what? He stayed true to Roham form, where he's just like, I'm not taking your bait, and I'm gonna stay who I am. or who I portray anyways, just like he did with all the accusations and, you know, that whole thing. He still came out. He answered all the people. He didn't take the bait and tell everyone to shut up and F off, you know, and that was true. That was primetime Roham right there. Like, cool. Yeah. You're not me, pal. Thanks.
Keeping it chill. Yeah. Keeping it chill. I like that. Yeah, I like that as an answer. Guys asking him questions and he just giggles.
Like, did this person know that he was Roham?
No, I don't think so.
Who the hell does that though?
I think there's a whole generation of people that are just big assholes, like that are super stupid in public that do dumb shit.
I've never seen a sick
that have been inspired by like the Tom Greens and the jackasses of the world to go and just do all these like weird like talking pranks in stores and shit. So I don't know.
I'm not inspired by those, but I will say I have considered doing something like that. I don't have TikTok and I know nothing about it, but I kind of want to start something. I spend hours in traffic every day. I literally want to interview people in traffic and ask them where the hell they're going. And if it's not what I want to hear, I want to tell them to get the hell off the road. Okay. Because I know for a fact that when I'm going to work, 90% of the people on the road are not doing something relevant. Okay. They're not going to school. They're not going to work. They're probably going to meet their friends at like Tim Hortons downtown for no reason other than to create more traffic. So I look in the cars and I'm like, man, you're not going to school or work. I want to roll down their windows and be like, where are you going? Tell me right now. And be like, you shouldn't be on the roads. I want to do that. I think it'd be pretty popular because I like that we went almost an entire episode without Phil talking about traffic. Okay.
We were very, very close. We were like literally at the last 2 minutes, and somehow you still be like, "Hey, I have an idea. I want to interview people about why they're in traffic and tell them that they suck."
What are you doing?
Like that. That's your final idea.
I'm going to work. Okay, cool, good. That's good. You belong here. But anything else?
I'm gonna play us out. This is a video. And you're going to hear it if you're on audio. It's pretty boring. And Phil, we're not going to come back after the video. Okay. So you can cue it up a bit if you want, but once the video is done, the show is over. Okay. I'm turning it off, but it's Arsenic, who somehow has like a security video of a hockey game he's playing in, where he then dekes out two guys and backhands it into the net, like top corner, bar down. And it honestly looks like it's in freaking slow motion because the guys he's playing against are terrible.
Okay. Arsenic, with all due respect, like all these years you've told us about your hockey experiences, and you know the big fights you get in, because we'll get pictures from Arsenic like after a big fight and he's got like all these marks on his face and he's been not beat up because he gives the beatings apparently, but you know it sounds like a really professional league. And then for the first time ever, and we don't know how Arsenic got this video, it is a security like watch camera type deal. And I'm sure that after he scored the goal, he went knocking on every single door in the arena, being like, you need to give me this video. But the gameplay looks horrific. Like, I know that hockey, because I know this from watching hockey videos on YouTube. When you watch junior hockey games, they look slow and the players look awful. But I know from being there in person that they're not. So it is a little deceiving. But this is horrific hockey, Arsenic. It really is. And I told LG we have to show this video on the podcast because we need to kind of scare the OTM guys who we will eventually play in a game of hockey. That's coming up. But I'm not sure that this is it. Your effort in this video is phenomenal, but you need to tell us what's going on with the other guys on the ice, man, because
they're just standing there.
I don't know what's happening. Guys are flipping the puck for no reason. There's no hitting. And the puck is bouncing. Like I've never seen a puck bounce that much. But yeah, let's roll the tape and
we're gonna play.
We have to give kudos to Arsenic for his. It's not easy to get a puck up like that on your backhand, no matter.
No, that's a really amazing shot. Honestly, it's really.
And it's actually something I teach with my kids at a young age: is work on your backhand more than anything, because goalies don't see it and they can't react to it. So
no, when you need it,
got it down.
Like you're using your backhand because you don't have other options. So I think it's a good skill to have. But still, this is both an amazing video, but also a pathetic video. Phil, thank you for the show. It's been another epic episode of the First Minute. We'll see you guys next week. I think we can still talk over it. Oh, I can't hear you.